Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, TV, and streaming. Guys, it is Monday. Welcome to the beginning of a brand new week. I hope you guys have some great things lined up for yourselves. Joining us here today, speaking of great things lined up, like his cocaine, Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing?
Like my cocaine?
All lined up.
I haven't done cocaine in 15 years. Fentanyl's it's all over the place now. You can't do good drugs anymore.
We're coming in hot today.
Whoa. Right,
With the amount of hot toys I have, too, it's a lot more
He
expensive.
can't afford it.
Very expensive. That takes away a lot. Right beside him, of course, is Chris Carr. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing great. You know, I started my day seeing some eye violence from you, but it was sent to me with love.
It was out of concern.
It was.
And love for you. It was a screenshot from the new, Cabinet of Curiosities trailer or teaser or featurette dropped.
The just dry heave noise that came from the parking lot, though.
Yes.
I'm surprised you all didn't hear it.
I just didn't want you to be caught by surprise
I
by the
appreciate it.
scalpel going into the eye. I wanted to make sure you were good. Also joining us.
Wait.
What?
Shut up. Don't talk to me.
Where'd that come from?
Whoa.
I don't know. I'm not having a good Monday for some reason. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
You're just
Hello,
talking
everyone.
about Superman hot toys and
You haven't
everything.
even been up for an hour yet. Come on now.
You're right.
Ray Orr's joining you guys in the live chat today, but I wouldn't want to talk to him, I suppose. Ray, how's your day going?
All right. It's been a rough morning. My foot's still messed up, so that's why I'm late. I can't really move around right now, but at least I'm in a chair, right, Jonathan?
Ant's been telling you to go see a doctor about your
No,
foot.
the problem is this thing is just healing wrong. So, like, when I stretch my foot a little bit, it tears open again. It's really weird, yeah. Don't worry about it. I was bleeding out yesterday on the stairs. It's fine.
What? You were bleeding out?
Okay, yeah, I think this is probably a bigger. You know what he reminds me of Andy on Parks and Rec when he's like, No, I don't need the doctor. Oh yeah, I can't see out of this eye, and words sound like this. Oh, my teeth fell out.
I can get him some great cocaine to numb the pain.
Right beside Ray, of course, is Jonathan Boyko. Jonathan, how you doing?
I'm just minding my own business over here. Don't mind me.
And of course, guys, most importantly, you are joining us today. We are awfully glad that you are. Here's how today's show is going to go. First, we're going to talk about some predetermined topics. And then in the second half of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. Now, if you've got a live comment or question you'd like to have read and answered on the show, two things. Number one, you got to be watching live. Number two, when we get to the end of the main topics, we'll announce that we're opening up the super chats. And when we do, you guys will have a couple of minutes to fire in some questions, and we will address those in the second half of the show. Also, want to remind you that if you guys need your daily fix of the John Campea Show, but you can't be in front of a YouTube video, maybe you're commuting, you're at the gym or something, good news, there's an audio-only version of the show simply called the John Campea Show podcast. Just go to your favorite podcasting app of choice, search for the show, and submit to it today. And also, just to let you guys know, there is no more mailbag. There is no more mailbag. But you can still find the Mailbag podcast feed and our new show, Open Mic, which, by the way, Open Mic is going to have its first episode today. Yay! Going live at 3 p.m. Los Angeles time. That's 6 p.m. New York time. And that will be going on to the Mailbag podcast feed. So that podcast feed will be changing names soon. But for now, if you've got that Mailbag, if you subscribe to the Mailbag podcast feed, hold on to it. That's where the Open Mic shows will be going as well. All right, guys, with all that down, let's get into a couple of off the tops. And our first one is this. Now, everybody is excited for Andor. The trailers for Andor have been stunning. I was very intrigued by the idea of the show when at D23 they talked about it, and the whole idea about looking at the darker side of the rebellion, looking at the people who have to get their actual hands dirty to do the work of the rebellion. That's always been interesting, but these trailers have been like another level. And I think I said the most recent Andor trailer, I think, was the best Star Wars trailer we've seen since the Rogue One trailer. Speaking of Rogue One, it looks like they're going to try to capitalize on this, and it's been announced that they are going to be releasing Rogue One back into IMAX screens, I believe, at the end of this month. This comes to us from the folks over at Engadget who wrote the following. Ahead of Andor, That's, of course, the new series coming on Disney+. Ahead of Andor, September 21st, Disney will be bringing Rogue One, a Star Wars story, back into theaters. The 2016 film will return to, I still can't believe that was in 2016. The film will return to IMAX screens in the US on August 26th, along with an exclusive look at the upcoming Disney Plus series. So later this month, in just a couple of weeks, you'll be able to go to IMAX, watch Rogue One again, which is pretty awesome in and of itself. It's like, in my opinion, it's the second best Star Wars movie outside of the original trilogy. So outside of New Hope, Empire, Jedi, I think the second best Star Wars movie outside of that is Rogue One. I love that film. To see it again on IMAX is pretty cool in and of itself. To see it building up to Andor is cool in and of itself. But the idea that you're also going to get an advanced sneak peek at the Andor series, I think is a pretty cool idea. Rob, you heard about this. What stands out to you?
Well, I love the fact that they're putting it in theaters. You know, John, it's interesting. This month, E.T. is in IMAX theaters,
Yep.
you know, celebrating its 40th anniversary. We have Jaws coming out in IMAX and in 3D next month. And the fact that in the sort of, we've talked a lot about on the show how there aren't big tentpole properties available in theaters. I think this is great because, you know, when I was growing up, they would re-release Disney movies in theaters, you know, and that was the only way to see them, pre-home video. And I love doing that. So, you know, there's going to be some kid who might have been 4 when Rogue One came out. You know, now he's 10.
Now he's your assistant.
Never got to see it in a theater. You know, so you've got a new generation of people, and that movie, like you said, it's a great experience. I love that movie, and it's only grown, I think, bigger in stature as the years have gone by because people are like, wow, this is really good, especially in the wake of what came after it. So, and the space battle at the end of that movie is tremendous.
Oh, it's so fun. I think it's the second best space battle outside of the space battle at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Oh, it's got so much cool stuff. So I'm excited. I'm gonna go see that.
Right.
I'll
Now,
see it again in the theater.
Now, for the wet blanket opinion on this, the one person in the room who does not like Rogue One. Let's go over to Chris. Chris,
I don't
what do you
like
think
Rogue
about
One.
this?
I don't like Top Gun Maverick. I'm the
Why
worst.
do we even listen to her?
I thought we've been muting her this whole time. What's going on?
Everyone in this room sucks. I was about to be so nice. I'm like, I don't want to yuck anyone's yum. If you want to go see this again, go see it. Maybe
I
I
brought
would,
out the pitchforks and I pitched it.
maybe if I see it again, I'll enjoy it more.
Yeah.
I don't think I will. But I'm happy that so many people who enjoy it will get to see it again. I'll probably go off and see E.T. instead. It's my birthday month. I get to do what I want. Don't you
Yeah.
think?
E.T.'s awesome.
True.
I do want to see E.T. on the big screen
Yeah.
again, though.
That's
Taylor,
what I'm more interested in.
Taylor went to go to see that this
Yeah.
weekend, so I'm like, okay, now I want to go see that on the big screen. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this bringing Rogue One back to theaters? I don't think it's going to blow up the box office or anything, but I know I'm going to take advantage of this. Maybe you will too. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, let's do one more off the top, and that is this. I think it's fair to say that one of the most beloved filmmakers is Quentin Tarantino. I mean, I don't know if he belongs in the discussion of the Mount Rushmore of all-time directors, but there certainly are a lot of people who feel he does belong in that conversation. And his career is not even over.
No.
So like he'll definitely be a name that we're talking about 20, 30 years from now. He's an incredible filmmaker, and he's a student of Hollywood. Like, he knows Hollywood history. He is a huge fan of the history of the medium. He loves cinema so much. And so we just need to acknowledge that he has forgotten more about cinema than most of us will ever know. But if Quentin were in the room right now, I would quote a little bit of Hamilton to him. Are you out of your goddamn mind? Because Quentin Tarantino apparently momentarily lost, the hold of his senses. And he came out and said that Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was better than The Last Crusade. This comes to us from the folks over at Joe Blow. So Quentin Tarantino was doing a podcast and he said, I like Crystal Skull more than the Sean Connery one. He doesn't even have the respect to call it by its name. Last Crusade. I like Crystal Skull more than the Sean Connery one. I don't like the Sean Connery one. I don't like that one at all. That's such a boring one. It's boring. And he's not an interesting character. The joke is made immediately. It's like, stop, or my mom will shoot. What? How dare you, sir? Now, of course, we're always going on around here that, of course, all movies are subjective, and some people will love. Hey, the movie you hate the most is somebody's favorite movie.
Someone loves Morbius.
The movie, it's true. There are people who love that movie. There are
People don't
movies
like
that
it?
you hate that people absolutely love. That's the beautiful thing about cinema. But man, it's a little bit off-putting to hear like one of our favorite filmmakers say something like, because I stand by this. Last Crusade is the best Indiana Jones movie. I don't expect everybody to agree with that, of course, but I mean, to me, it's just the best one. And the way that movie ends with them, the four of them on horses, literally riding into the sunset with Sala being there with, I mean, it's just a movie that makes my heart so happy. And I, by the way, do not hate Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I mean, I've always said that if it had a different title, like, what I say, Professor Ferguson and the Aztec Jungle Adventure, it's not a bad little adventure movie. I just didn't think it was a very good Indiana Jones movie, but I don't hate that film. But yeah, Quentin Tarantino says that Crystal Skull is better than Last Crusade, and I'm sure he's not alone. I'm sure he's not alone. Rob, you hear the comments. What do you think?
Well, I have to say this. I'm not a Last Crusade fan, but there is no way The Last Crusade comes anywhere near Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. There's so many things wrong with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and so many choices that are made tonally, and I don't know why. I mean, I guess I could try and understand, okay, where is he coming from? Like what? And I can understand like I think that my problem with Last Crusade is the tone of it compared to Raiders and Temple of Doom. But then I don't know what the hell the tone is on Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I don't know what that movie's supposed to be. It changes tone every 2 seconds. And, you know, at least Last Crusade, while sometimes it's a little unbelievable, it's not nearly as unbelievable and stupid as Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is.
Wait, are you trying to tell me that you can't survive a nuclear blast if you hide in a refrigerator?
Well, you know, I don't ever want to try that out to see if it works, but I would say no. You see, it wasn't necessarily the radiation. It's the fact that you're in a refrigerator that gets thrown however many miles, perhaps, and it lands on the ground and bounces. You'd have every bone in your body broken. I mean, come on. You look at that and I went, the thing about the Raiders, the Indiana Jones movies, is they always skirted believability. You could suspend your
Most
disbelief.
adventure sci-fi movies do.
Yes.
Right? They skirt that line.
But there is no line in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. It completely goes off into La La Land.
Right. But we all do love the Shia swinging with monkey scene, right? Like that's, we understand, like we all love that one.
Yeah.
That part is great. I know, Chris.
I just saw your soul leave your body.
What do you think about it, Chris?
Well, I messaged Logan that this was going to be one of our off the tops, and he texted me back, good news, I'm no longer the biggest idiot on this planet. Because in an ongoing segment on the show, Weird Things That Are in My Wedding Vows with Logan Peets, I talked about how much he loves Crystal Skull in our wedding vows. Because I was like, I love this guy. He loves just the stupidest shit as long as he's having fun. Talk to him about Crystal Skull. I think this is kind of ridiculous because Last Crusade is amazing, but Quentin Tarantino is obviously entitled to his opinion.
Of course he is.
Do I share it? Nah. But hey, good for you, QT. And it's a movie with very limited feet, so I love that he loves it. He's expanding his horizons.
Everyone's feet would be dirty in that movie.
And he'd have a problem with it?
Oh, he would love that. All right, guys. Question is for you. The great Quentin Tarantino. This shows, man, this, if anything is a great example for the subjectivity of film, this is it. The great Quentin Tarantino actually thinks that Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is better than Last Crusade. What do you guys think about that? Maybe you're one of the people that agrees with them. That's the beautiful thing about this medium, guys. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, before we move into our main topics here today, we're going to take a second and thank one of the sponsors of today's video, our friends at Babbel. Hey guys, we want to take a second and thank the sponsor of this episode, Babbel. Now, as an Italian, did you guys know my real name is Giovanni? Anyway, as an Italian that doesn't actually speak a lot of Italian, I've always wanted to learn better Italian so I could converse with my Italian relatives. And that's where Babbel is a godsend. And for you guys, for all your summer travels, or whether you're going abroad or staying domestic and want to immerse yourself in the culture, now is the perfect time to start Babbel. Babbel is the language learning app that sold more than 10 million subscriptions. Thanks to Babbel's addictively fun and easy bite-sized language lessons, there's still time to learn a new language before you reach your destination. With Babbel, you only need 10 minutes to complete a lesson, so you can start having real-life conversations in a new language in as little as 3 weeks. Now, other language learning apps use AI for their lesson plans, but Babbel lessons were created by over 150 language experts. With Babbel, you can choose from 14 different languages, including Spanish, French, Italian, and German, and others. Right now, you can save up to 60% off your subscription when you go to babbel.com/campea. That's babbel.com/campea for up to 60% off your subscription. Babbel, language for life. And thank you to our friends at Babbel for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. Remember, guys, when you support our sponsors, you're actually supporting us. So when you go down to the description of this video, right at the top there, you're going to see a link to all of our sponsors and the promo codes. And thank you to you guys for checking them out. All right. With that all down, let's now move into our main topics here today. And how do we select our main topics on the show? That's simple. We need you guys, because you guys come up with our main topics. Whenever you come across a big topic, issue, or story that you guys feel we need to cover as a main topic here on the show, just go anytime 24/7 over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question. It's absolutely free. Hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission featured as a main topic here on the John Campea Show. With that down, Chris, what is our first main topic today?
Our first one comes from Var. Hey, John. This weekend, a couple of us sat down and watched the new Owen Wilson movie, Secret Headquarters, on Paramount Plus. I actually thought it was pretty good, but Michael Pena was given a pretty bad role. Why isn't he getting more A-list material to work with these days? Anyway, I wanted to know if you had a chance to see the movie yet, and if so, what you thought about it. Thanks.
All right, thanks for saying that in. And listen, I have been a big Owen Wilson fan ever since he did his movie with Jackie Chan, Shanghai Noon. He had been around before that, but that was really my introduction to Owen Wilson. And I love that movie. To this day, Shanghai Noon, it's one of those movies that makes my heart smile. I love it. Him and Jackie Chan had such great chemistry in it. Mm-hmm. So obviously I was really excited when they did Shanghai Nights. And the regret was great. I really didn't like that movie at all. But that Shanghai Noon was great. And then he's been in like some of my favorite comedies. I mean, Hansel, so hot right now. Hansel, like in Zoolander, absolutely incredible. I just love the guy. I think he's great. Wedding Crashers. I can watch him all the time. And so when I saw that he was going to be doing this movie with Walker Scobell, who of course, like, burst onto the scene in that Ryan Reynolds, The Adam Project movie. And now he's going to be the new Percy Jackson, apparently. I was very curious to watch it. Didn't like the title of the movie, Secret Headquarters. Not a great title. And you watched it and you loved it, and I cannot share your appraisal. Listen, I saw 2 movies this weekend, and we're going to be talking about Day Shift in just a minute. But I will say this, there was nothing about Secret Headquarters that I overtly hated, other than the Michael Pena character, because you're bang on. What's going on with Michael Pena not getting A-list roles? The dude's insanely gifted.
Yeah.
And why he's having to settle for taking these crappy roles is completely beyond me. And you know what's funny? This tells you about his professionalism, because I'm watching him play this terrible character. He's the bad guy in the movie. And playing this awful, awful, awful character, poorly written character. And you could see him giving everything he had to try to make something out of it. So I think that speaks a lot to the professionalism and the talent of Michael Pena. But listen, the basic idea of a kid finding out his dad is actually a superhero, that's a cool conceit. That's a cool concept. I liked it. It's just that everything was so flat. Again, nothing horrible about the movie other than the Michael Pena character. It's just the absence of anything redeemable, the absence of anything good. The CGI, I get it, it's not a higher budget film, but if you're going to use CGI, try to do it right. And the CGI didn't look good. They used every kind of cliche they could possibly muster in this thing, like to the point that Ann and I are watching this movie, and we could tell what the next lines were going to be.
Yeah.
You could just tell what the next lines were going to be, like, throughout the entire movie. And at the end of it, the credits rolled, and it's just like, I wish I could have said I enjoyed it. I wish I could say that I laughed at anything in the movie. I didn't. I wish I could say I found any part of the movie exciting. I didn't. Again, I can't say this isn't one of the worst films of the year because, again, I didn't find anything overtly horrible about it other than the Michael Pena character. But it was just an utter waste of time. It was an infinitely forgettable film. I'll never go back and watch it again. And after today, I'll probably never think about it again. So, and again, I feel bad about that because I'm really, as you know, Palpatine looking at a young Anakin, we shall watch your career with great interest. Like, I'm very interested in watching this kid's career go. And I love Owen Wilson, love Michael Pena, freaking Grey's Anatomy. One of the, it's fucking stupid how good looking that one guy is.
Jesse Williams.
Oh my God, is obscene how good looking
He's
that guy is.
an incredibly good looking man.
That is ridiculous.
Who's an incredibly good actor.
He is.
Oh.
And again, he was kind of trying to make something happen in it as well. But I just didn't like it. Anyway, Chris, you had a chance to watch Secret Headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have a better appraisal of it than me?
I think so. Mostly because as I watched it, I was so excited about Walker and Keith's careers because they're great. They're so good. They deliver lines so well. I mean, he just is a young Ryan Reynolds. And he can deliver these quips and he can be vulnerable. And I think he's so
adorable.
Wonderful. And he's just precious.
Adorable.
Yeah. And then Keith L. Williams is just hilarious. He is such a consistent actor, which is amazing when you're a young actor to be that consistent and be able to deliver jokes and commit to your bits. And all his jokes with his asthma and his screaming and everything, I loved all of that. I do think that Michael Pena's character was completely unnecessary because Irons, who Jesse Williams played, was so much more interesting and actually had the closest thing to an arc in this, right? So write out Pena, as amazing as he is, that character wasn't, and give Irons a more fleshed out story. The biggest thing here, I feel, is it was, hey, it's superhero movie for kids, which, I mean, superhero movies already appeal to a young audience, right? So there was so much. I kept thinking of Mrs. Doubtfire. You don't need to talk down to kids. You need to talk to them. And I feel like that's where this movie missed the mark a lot of times because there was a lot of potential here. I did have an expectation seeing Jerry Bruckheimer's name all over it as far as the effects were going to go. That was a disappointment. I think there's some good stuff here. And I think if you do have young kids, they'll have a fun time watching this. But it's fine. And it could have been so much more.
I'm going to give a little spoiler away. It's completely
Spoiler
not
graphic.
relevant to the overall plot. But like, there's a scene in the movie, because I believe it's in one of the trailers, so it's not really giving anything away, where the kids are in a super van. And they're in a car chase. I don't know, like between Easter Sunday and this movie, why they suddenly felt the need to have a car chase in it, I'm not sure.
Why did we have the cop characters at all?
Okay, I could go off on a half-hour diatribe about the cop characters who are doing the car chase. Like, why were they in this movie at all? But anyway, there's this car chase that they're going on. The cops are chasing the kids in this super van that have these 3 giant blue thrusters on the back. And they're barely keeping ahead of the cops. Like, I'm watching this. You see the thrusters and the things. Like, this thing should be going 300 miles an hour. And they're barely keeping ahead of the cops. And this is so dumb.
You know who was great in this, though, and wasn't in it enough? Reggie from Riverdale. He played Hawaii.
Oh, that's right. He was Hawaii in that.
Yeah.
He
And
was
as soon as
great.
it came up, I said, Ann went, he's in Riverdale.
Yeah, he's wonderful. I want him to do more. Again, these actors who I think are really, really wonderful, I want them to be involved in better projects because he was doing great stuff with what he was given.
Rob, you also had a chance to watch Secret Headquarters. Did you like it any better than us?
No, and I think that Chris, you nailed it. I mean, you know, John, I had experience working on a film that was kind of similar in Agent Cody Banks, and when Agent Cody Banks was written, it was written with a serious bent to it, and it was written for a slightly older audience, and then the studio decides, let's make it more for kids, for tweens, for 8 to 12-year-olds, and then suddenly they had to dumb everything down. Like, instead of making it feel realistic, I mean, we now live in a world where we have been seeing superhero movies now. They're the biggest movies ever of all time. And you don't have to make a kid's movie that feels like it's made for children who somehow are not as intellectually progressive as kids are today. And it looks like we're watching something that exists in a world that isn't I hate to say this, but isn't real, in the sense that none of this movie felt authentic. I didn't believe it. And I wanted to. I was excited for this movie. I thought, okay, I didn't believe the kids did the best they could with the material. Like you said, Michael Pena.
Yeah.
Michael Pena, all of the characters. The problem was the material was written for adults that didn't believe their own movie. They were making a made-up scenario that they didn't lean into the reality of it. They're just like, this is not real at all. So let's just make it fantastical, like you said, with the car chase and the rocket-powered van. Let's not make it real. The problem is audiences, especially kids, are way more sophisticated now. And this is wish fulfillment on the first order. This is, if you found out your dad was a superhero. And
It would explain a lot.
well, I mean, when you go
lot.
down, I think kids today would act a lot differently than these kids did. This whole movie was like a construct. They came up with this idea, but they never thought, well, what would it be like if this were real?
Well, I'll tell you the one thing they did, and this is going to be giving a little bit away, but again, it's not a major plot point of it. The one thing they did that I thought was really interesting was when you talk about nothing felt real, there was one thing to me that felt kind of real, which was you find out in the movie that getting these superpowers and becoming this hero, it ruined Owen Wilson's marriage. And I thought I've never seen one do that before. Like, you've seen it happen because he couldn't reveal his secret identity and that created, no. The wife knew what was going on, but it just so encompassed his life that it caused their marriage to end. And I actually like that one thing about it. So if I had to dig for one thing that
The
I thought
wife
was
was
really quite good,
amazing.
I'll say that one part was
She had that whole great part too of like, I don't care. I just don't care.
Yeah.
Show up for your kid, show up for people. I don't care.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. Did you have a chance to watch Secret Headquarters on Paramount Plus? It's loaded with people that I really like. I just couldn't enjoy it. Obviously, our viewer liked it very much. Maybe you did too. Whatever you guys thought about the movie, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's do another main topic here. Chris, what is our second main topic today?
This is from Zidvarko. Hi, John and crew. Greetings from a longtime viewer from Serbia.
Oh, thank you, man.
I just saw the new Netflix original Day Shift, and I thought it was awesome. It reminded me of my favorite vampire movie, John Carpenter's Vampires, with its moist combination of action, horror, and comedy. Did you guys have a chance to check it out yet? And if so, what'd you think?
All right, thanks for saying that in, man. And yeah, look, I will admit, I went into watching Day Shift with a healthy dose of skepticism because the last Jamie Foxx Netflix original movie that kind of had like the supernatural superhero kind of bent to it was that one he did with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I can't even remember the name of it. But you guys remember the one where he takes a pill and you get superpowers for an hour or a day or something like that? That movie sucked. Like, that movie was terrible. So watching the promos for Day Shift, it gave me the same kind of vibes as that movie. Although I had a little bit of hope because one of my favorite comic stories of the last number of years is a comic that not a lot of people have read, but it's called Daymen, which is about, the daytime guardians of the vampires. It's actually a really cool comic. If you get a chance to get your hands on it, it's pretty cool. So I thought maybe this can be a little bit of that. So I watched this movie and it's awful. It's awful. This is a terrible movie. And I'm looking at 57%. I'm like, what did the 57% see? Now, let me start with the good here. Jamie Foxx is always fun to watch. Jamie Foxx.
I love Jamie Foxx.
He's got a Dwayne Johnson-like charisma about him. Like, when you look at him in, like, what was it, Horrible Bosses that he popped? Like, he's just got this natural charisma he can bring to something that, even if he's in something that's truly bad, you'll get a kick out of just watching him on screen. And I'll give him that. The action in the film is the choreography of the action is like top notch.
Yep, thought it was
Like,
great.
when there were action scenes going on, I was having a mildly good time watching it. When you boil it down, this movie is about a vampire with a Lex Luthor real estate scheme. That's it. That's the movie. And by the way, it's a scheme that isn't necessary at all. Because the whole concept of this movie is this female vampire who's a real estate agent is buying up a whole bunch of property in the valley in LA. Why? So vampires can move in.
Yeah.
Vampires were living there anyway. I was like, wait, why does the vampire need to own the property for
Well, we're-
vampires to move in? The whole movie starts, opening credits, with Jamie Foxx taking out a vampire who's just living in a house. Just living in a house. So you have this whole Lex Luthor scheme that wasn't even necessary. Oh, and then they kind of introduce this entire subplot, this real important thing that this vampire's come up with ways that vampires can walk in the sun. We can walk in the sun. And then they reference it once in the movie, and it's just some kind of suntan lotion that works for like 15 minutes. And they give it like one mention later in the film, and that's it. They just completely drop the thing
Sounds
entirely. And then I can't even talk about this thing that they do with Dave Franco in the movie that is so utterly, and I like Dave Franco a lot. But they do this thing with Dave Franco later in the movie, and they would be spoiling a major plot thing, so I'm not going to go into it. That I'm just sitting there with my face in my hand going, I can't believe they just tried to do this. The action's great. There's these characters called the Brothers that show up that are really fun, and I could totally see this was a setup for a spinoff. So they're totally going to do a spinoff of these two brothers that are in it. But the movie's truly awful. The dialogue is some of the worst I've heard in a long time. Absolutely some of the worst I've heard in a long time. It's just, and like, he's got an ex-wife who has no idea about what he does. It's like, that made no sense. Because as the movie's going, you realize what he was doing. Like, there's no way the wife thought he was a pool cleaner. Unless she's the biggest moron in the world. Like, there's no way she thought he was a pool. Anyway, just every part of this movie, outside of the incredible action, the charisma for days that Jamie Foxx has, was just unwatchable garbage. So, like, unlike, say, Secret Headquarters, where it's like, I did not like that movie. But it wasn't that there was anything, like, really bad about it. It's just the absence of anything decently good about it. Day Shift is a little bit different. There are some highlights to the film, unlike Secret Headquarters. But there's a lot of real terrible things about it, too. So I know that was my take. Chris, I know you didn't have a chance to see it, but
No.
Rob,
Logan
you did.
auditioned for it, so I read
Logan
some of it.
auditioned for it?
Yeah, he auditioned for James Franco's part.
Really?
And
I could totally see him playing James Franco's part.
I know I'm biased. It's literally one of the best auditions he ever did, and it had to get really weird because of that ending.
Right?
So I'm really sad that this is so bad because the dialogue we got was hilarious and super, super fun.
You know, it might have been one of those things where
Dummy
on the
sides?
page, dialogue reads great, but then, I don't know. But
Yeah.
Rob, you did have a chance to see Day Shift.
Look at
Tell
that
me you liked
face.
it better than I did.
No. I mean, look, I actually, to be honest,
no's
I
to
was
that.
really looking forward to this because I love vampire stories. I love Jamie Foxx. I thought, again, and our viewer in Serbia very astutely brings up John Carpenter's Vampires, which is based on one of the coolest vampire novels ever written, which was surprisingly called Vampires by John Stakely. But in the book, the S at the end of Vampires is a $. If I could remake almost any movie, if someone said, what would you remake, John? I'd remake Carpenter's Vampires. This movie's tone, this movie didn't know what it wanted to be from one scene to the next. I'm like, you know, you look at something like What We Do in the Shadows, the movie. That movie had a great premise. Let's have a documentary crew making a documentary about vampires. And we used vampire tropes. And we used all of this great vampire lore. But the premise was inherently funny. And they never broke the tone. The tone of it, which was inherently humorous. This had, like you said, this had kick-ass action. Really cool choreography, cool kills, really interesting, fun stuff. But then the rest of it was like, it was all over the place. I'm like, how am I supposed to feel about this? And there's been so many, whether it's the original Fright Night from '85, even the remake of Fright Night wasn't so bad.
I did not mind the remake, to be honest with you.
I love it.
Yeah, it wasn't so bad.
I drink Midori's to it, and I enjoy David Tennant.
Yeah, I mean, it's not so bad, and yet there's so many examples of. I mean, I think of Grace Jones and Vamp. There's been so many different vampire movies or Love at First Bite. You know, with Richard Benjamin and George Hamilton.
Lost Boys is still my favorite.
Well, yeah, Lost Boys does a really good job of tonally keeping the vampire threat and the humor with the Frog Brothers and all that. It could have been goofy, but it stays cool. This movie had Jamie Foxx in it. It should have been. I hated this movie. Made me feel like I was watching Return of the Living Dead 2.
Ooh.
And I love Return of the Living Dead.
I was about to say, what's wrong with Return of the Living Dead?
Two. Oh my God. Or I hate to slam on this movie, or Jackie Hong's Blood Diner. I just couldn't deal with all the tonal shifts. This should have been great. This movie pissed me off when it was over. I'm like, I wish Jamie Foxx was allowed to rewrite this script, because I bet he would have made it cool.
And I'll tell you what, there's a moment in the film, and I won't tell you any of the narrative repercussions of it. There's a moment in the film where it's like they're fighting a house of vampires, and when it's all done, they're like, "Nah, something's wrong here, man," because they talk in this. I do like the setup, like I like when vampire stuff messes with mythology a little bit, and so like there are 5 different types of vampires. It's like this breed of vampire would never be in a house with this breed of vampire, and they would never associate with that breed of vampire, and yet they're all under the same house. You finish watching the movie, it's like that had nothing to do with anything. Like ultimately that made no sense. They tried to make it as if it was a big deal, and ultimately that didn't go anywhere. And God, I wanted to like it, because that opening scene, I told you, the movie just starts cold open with Jamie Foxx fighting a vampire. It's a great fun scene.
It is
I'm like,
a great scene.
All right, buckle up. This could be a lot of fun. And then there's a union, and you got your stereotypical police captain. I got my eye on you, Jablonski. One false move and you're out of here. It's like, really? Are they going back to that trope? Anyway, I thought it was really bad. Anyway,
you've got to take your world building seriously, because
even in a comedy,
in a comedy, almost
Especially,
in a comedy, and this film just didn't know what it wanted to be from one moment to the next. And in a way, Secret Headquarters it wasn't the same problem, but it bothered me in the same way.
Well, guys, listen, if you're looking for a movie that you can just put on mute and while you're doing other things and look up, this could be a banger of a film. This could be actually pretty all right. But I don't know, guys, what did you think? Obviously, our viewer loved the movie. I think with the cool action, maybe it'll work for a lot of people. Maybe it worked for you. Did you guys have the chance to see Day Shift? If so, what did you think about it? Jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. Okay, guys, with that down, we're going to take a second here and thank another sponsor of today's show, our friends at Upside. We want to take a moment and thank the sponsor of this episode, Upside. Guys, from cringing at the pump to getting an eye-popping check at your favorite restaurant, inflation is hitting us all where it hurts, and it really hurts. And that's why I started using Upside. Upside is an incredible app for anybody who buys groceries, gas, or dines out. With every purchase, you are earning cash back thanks to Upside. And guys, believe me, I know. You hear about apps like this, and it turns out you have 40 or 50 hoops you have to jump through, but believe me, Upside is super easy to use. I know it sounds too good to be true, but it's not. I've used it, and it works. Upside is a no-brainer. To get started, download the free Upside app. Use my promo code Campea Show and get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. Next, claim an offer for whatever you're buying on Upside, check in at the business, pay as usual with a credit card or debit card, and get paid. In comparison to credit card rewards or loyalty programs, you can earn 3 times more cash back with Upside. So guys, download the free Upside app and use the promo code Campea Show to get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. That's $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more using the promo code Campea Show. And thank you to our friends at Upside for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to main topic number 3. Chris, what is our third main topic today?
This one comes from Karen McCain. Hey, John and crew, longtime listener and fellow Canadian here.
Yay!
I saw some comments online with regards to why the MCU is so much more popular than the DCEU. The DCEU had no cohesion. Every character seems to be in its own universe. Suicide Squad movie was in Midway City, yet no mention of the Doom Patrol. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't Hawkman live there?
All right, thanks a lot for saying that in, Karen. And this is like one of the big ongoing conversations and questions about why is the MCU more successful than the DCU? Why has it been so much more successful? And listen, we're not asking the question, why is the MCU better than the DCU? That's a matter of subjective taste. But I think you'd have to have been living under a bridge to not understand and acknowledge, no matter how big of a DC fan or Marvel fan you are, that the MCU has been more successful. You may question about whether it deserves to have been more successful, but there is no debating the MCU has clearly been more successful than the DCEU. Whether that's fair or not fair, right or an injustice, that's the way it is. And I think everybody acknowledges that. But the then question is always coming up about why has it been more successful? And whenever that question comes up, I often find in the communities that I kind of gravitate around, it's always comes down to, well, the DCU didn't build up their universe first, or they didn't do a properly cohesive cinematic universe, like you're saying, Karen, or they didn't do this and they didn't do that. And I want to put forth to you that none of that is the reason the MCU has been more successful than the DCEU. Maybe they could be contributing factors to some way, shape, or form, and everybody will have a different opinion about this. But here's what I believe is the one singular factor as to why the MCU has been more successful than the DCEU. It's not about that one launched with a bunch of solo films and then did a group film. Has nothing to do with that. I always talk about this. You know what? George Lucas put out Star Wars. He didn't need to do a solo Luke Skywalker movie first. He didn't need to then do a solo Han Solo movie, and then a solo R2 and 3PO adventure, and then a solo Obi-Wan Kenobi show, and then you do Star Wars. No, he was able to just do Star Wars, and there you go. Here's the one singular reason, in my opinion. And obviously there are many, many smaller reasons, but if you had to point to one main reason, the reason is this. As far as the general audience is concerned, the MCU has just made better movies. Boom! I know that sounds radical. I know that sounds, way out there, but it just comes down to it. The general audience has found that the MCU movies have just been better movies. Spoiler! Spoilers, here it is. Now, look, I'm not saying they are definitively better movies. I'm not saying you have to believe they're better movies, but there's no getting around. The consensus among the general movie-going audience is that the MCU movies they've just produced better product. The reason the MCU was able to take off wasn't because the end scene and the post-credit scene of Iron Man, Nick Cage shows up at the end of Iron Man, ladies and gentlemen. Nick Fury shows up at the end of Iron Man and says, I'm putting together something called the Avengers Initiative. That's not why people why Iron Man was so successful. It was successful because people went to go see Iron Man. They just loved the movie. To this day, a lot of people still say it's one of their favorite comic book movies ever. And here's the thing. If you go over and start looking at the highest rated comic book films of all time, you're going to see a pattern. So Jonathan, let's bring up that webpage here. Mm-hmm. So we're looking at the highest rated comic book films of all time. Well, the first one is Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse, well-deserved place. Not an MCU movie, by the way, not an MCU movie, but well-deserved place is Spider-Man right there. Then you get The Incredibles, great. And then we get Black Panther at 96, that's an MCU. Then we get another MCU with Avengers Endgame with a 94. Then we get a non-MCU and non-DCEU movie with Logan. Then we get the non-DCEU, The Dark Knight. And then we're back to the MCU, Iron Man, the aforementioned Iron Man at 94%. Another non-DCEU movie, Superman. And then we get our first DCEU movie in the number 9 position with Wonder Woman. Love that movie. Then we go on, another DCEU movie with Thor Ragnarok. Next, another MCU movie with Thor Ragnarok. Next, another MCU movie with Spider-Man No Way Home at 93%. Then we get The Incredibles, non-MCU or DCU. Then we go a non-MCU Spider-Man 2. Then the MCU Spider-Man Homecoming with 92%. Another MCU movie with Guardians of the Galaxy at 92%. Another MCU movie at Marvel's The Avengers at 91%. Then we get the non-DCEU Teen Titans Go. RoboCop, which they count in there at 91%. Another MCU movie with Spider-Man Far From Home. Another MCU movie with Captain America Civil War. And then in this number 21 spot, we finally get our second DCEU movie, the fantastic Shazam, which is my second or third favorite DCU movie, followed up by another DCU movie, also vying for that number 2 or number 3 favorite spot of mine in the DCU pantheon, Suicide Squad. Obviously, number 1 to me is Man of Steel. But again, it's just going back to it. You don't have to agree with it. I don't have to agree with it, all that kind of stuff. But it's just understood that to the general movie-going audience, it only comes down to one thing. Who made the movies that the audience enjoyed more? That's it. And while, for me, the DCU has put out some total bangers for me, like obviously Man of Steel, Suicide Squad, Shazam, loved Wonder Woman, all that kind of stuff. But just generally speaking, the audience has been conditioned that they are more likely to have a good time if they go to an MCU film. And listen, I'm not saying that to be controversial, but I think most people, search your feelings, you know it to be true. I mean, it's just the way it is. And it is that reason, and that reason alone, that I think the MCU has been more successful. Because the audience just believes it. If we go to an MCU movie, there's a higher chance that, and listen, because I'll tell you what, even though the Robert Pattinson, Matt Reeves, the Batman movie is not a DCEU proper movie, I guarantee you that even though that movie did incredibly well with $770 million at the box office, I believe that was the number. Ray, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was like $770 million at the box office. If the DCU had put out films that the general audience liked more, I think that the Batman movie, even though it's not a DCU movie, that thing could have been $850, $900 million, right? I just think that's the case. Anyway, Rob, it's a long-term discussion, and it's a discussion we'll probably be having for years to come. But if posed with the question, why has the MCU been more successful than the DCU? Not why has it been better, but why has it been more successful? How would you approach that?
I think the reason is actually quite simple. The characters in the Marvel movies are much more relatable to the audience themselves, in the sense that if you look at Tony Stark, sure, we don't know what it's like to be super rich, but he's just a dude. You meet him, he's in the back of a military truck having a drink. You know, he's like, hey, you want to throw a gang sign? You immediately relate to him as a person. Sure, he becomes Iron Man later, but his central quest is he's a man that has decided that what he was doing in his life is wrong and he needs to make a change. So even though you've got superhero action and he battles Ironmonger and Obadiah Stane and all that, the story is about a human being trying to figure himself out, realizing I could be a better person and fundamentally must change. So what is happening in Iron Man, even though it's a superhero movie, everybody in the audience can relate to it as a person. Even like Thor, he's a god from Asgard, but he's got a daddy issue and his brother's a dick. So it's like, it's a story about a family, and we like immediately relate. Captain America, Steve Rogers, is a nebbishy dude. You know, he's not big, he's not special, he's like nothing, but he's got pure heart, a pure heart. So many of us are that guy. He's a nerd. Super soldier serum, but still it's his nerddom that allows him to become the Captain America that we love. So the MCU and indeed the Marvel characters lean into that. Whereas I can't relate. If I'm a Kryptonian, I don't know what it's like to have super strength. And they never humanized the Superman character. You know, the reason people love Christopher Reeve's Superman is it had the Americana, the whole beginning, the whole first 30 minutes of that movie when he's in Smallville and, you know, he gets the big man on campus, the big football players, you know, they don't treat him very well. So we relate to Christopher Reeve's Superman. And I think the reason people didn't like Man of Steel as much, where you and I think look beyond that, he wasn't enough of a human being. He didn't have enough, like you didn't see him like try and date a girl or something like that. It was just, it was the Superman of it all. And Wonder Woman, while it was good and she related to man's world, she's still a goddess, you know? And so when you're watching the DC movies, Shazam humanized the character more.
A lot, yeah.
But the Marvel characters are inherently stories of people, human beings. Strip away the superhero-ness of it all.
Yep.
Whereas the DC movies, I think, have a hard time. We don't relate to them as much. And the thing is, there was not enough humanity in Man of Steel for people to love it as much as we do. To me, I've always seen it as a great science fiction first contact story. I look beyond the fact that, but there isn't the nebbishy Steve Rogers before he's a super soldier. We don't get enough of that. And I think that's why people love the Marvel movies so much, is because we relate to all of those characters as people. They're like our friends. I don't necessarily relate to Wonder Woman. I'd like to. but I don't.
Chris?
Thought we were going to get out of that just all on like a sweet note. And
Yeah,
then
we're almost
boom.
there. We almost
Boom.
made it. But Chris, you see this, and if you're asked the question, like the unarguable truth that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been more successful, but why has it been more successful?
And I agree with Rob that it's a character study situation. If you take away all the superpowers, I still want to watch these stories. I love that most of these characters, it ultimately boils down to I've let someone down or I don't want to let someone down. Tony Stark, despite all of his money and success, never could live up to his father's expectations. And it was just demon on his back for his entire life. Steve Rogers
Did you say
just
demon
won-
in a bottle?
Oh, demon in a bottle. Steve Rogers was never given the opportunity to show his worth because in that current time, I'm not a brawny guy. I'm not a scientist. What am I supposed to do? I just want to do something for my country and for my fellow man. For Thor, I'm constantly letting down my father.
Yeah.
For for Black Widow, I need to atone for the sins of my past. All of those things are so interesting. So then when you try to humanize some characters by telling me that their moms have the same name, and I know that's been memeified to death, but still, it falls flat. I need more. And it's really cool that you've got gadgets and superpowers. And ooh, sometimes your shit's dark and gritty, man. Look at all those sepia tones. It's not enough. You got to deliver on the heart. And I think that's what's been missing more so. And that's what Shazam did in spades. Gosh.
And well, that's what Shazam did in spades. That's what like on the
Aquaman.
Marvel side. Aquaman actually did that too a
Yeah.
lot.
I love his
on
dad.
the Marvel side, why everybody in this room loved Miss Marvel so much, because like you said, strip
Yeah.
away the superpowers is still a super interesting question. It's gonna be interesting to see how Black Adam handles that aspect that you guys are talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are they going to be able to find some way to get us to identify with Adam as an individual before he just becomes the supreme badass?
Because if
right?
he's on that I kill people kick, right, that still makes me a hero, and they justify all this, I can find that to be very compelling. They
Right.
just need to do it well.
Guys, the question is for you. I mean, we all have to agree that the MCU has been more successful. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to feel that it's been better, but it's more successful. Why do you think that has been the case? What do you think is the underlying root of that? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 4. Chris, what is our 4th main topic today?
This comes from Darth Jim. Hey, John. I went to check out the new Marvel Legends episode on Disney Plus, and I noticed that by the end of it, they never once mentioned the Edward Norton film, which is technically the origin of the current Hulk. I thought maybe I missed something, but then I noticed some articles coming out that pointed out the exact same thing. Why do you think Marvel is ghosting Norton's Hulk movie when elements from that Hulk are still in the MCU?
Why was I not in that special? Why was my movie not in that special? What's going on?
We need to call your agent.
That's right, damn it. No, this is really interesting. Now, look, I have obviously, in everything that I've loved about the MCU and all that kind of stuff, one of the big issues I have had was the recent treatment of Hulk, right? I like Savage Hulk. I mean, that's Hulk. That's the Hulk I want. The Hulk we see in Ed Norton's Hulk, or my Hulk, as I like to call it. Guest starring Edward Norton. The Hulk we see in the first Avengers movie. That Hulk, even the Hulk we see in Age of Ultron. That's the Hulk I love, and they have slowly kind of neutered him. The Russo brothers even recently have kind of just straight up come out and talked about why they felt the need they had to neuter Hulk and kind of bring him down a bit. And I don't love that. I don't love that a lot. But when you see in the modern MCU, there are clearly a lot of things from that Edward Norton Hulk movie being carried over, right? Thunderbolt Ross carried over and has been a mainstay character in the MCU for the longest time. Obviously, we had Abomination come back, which I've been waiting for years for Abomination to come back. But they brought Abomination back in Shang-Chi and obviously going to play a significant role in the new She-Hulk series. So clearly there's elements of that Hulk, but they've kind of just been ignoring that Hulk. And now with the Marvel Legends series that they've been doing, they literally left everything about that first movie with that Hulk out. It's almost like they're saying, okay, it's kind of the same Hulk that was in that one. That's why we got Thunderbolt Ross, but it's not really the same Hulk. Kind of the way I think they're going to treat Daredevil, but we'll put that aside for now. And it's really too bad that they've done. Now, listen, I understand they had a nightmare time with Edward Norton, and I know Edward Norton did not like his time making this movie. He refused to do any of the promotion for it and all that kind of stuff, and whatever. So, but I can't believe they've held that grudge for almost a decade. Maybe they did. I don't know, but it seems they have kind of quietly started to pretend like that movie just doesn't exist. Rob, you see this? I don't know. Do you like maybe it's much ado about nothing? Like, do you think it's not a big deal it wasn't mentioned? Do you think they're making a statement that it wasn't mentioned? What do you think?
Well, I think, look, they've kept the DNA of the movie in the MCU, but I think just the simple fact is, they've got Mark Ruffalo playing that role now, and they don't want. I mean, it's more. You don't see Terrence Howard in the MCU either. You don't see Rhodey from Iron Man 1. I think if they hadn't made the change, it wouldn't be a big issue. But I think just for brand confusion alone, they're like, nope, Mark Ruffalo's the Hulk. And if they were to go back, I'm surprised they didn't show footage from the Incredible Hulk movie and just insert Mark Ruffalo.
Deep fake Mark Ruffalo's face onto it.
They would never do that, but I think
pull a George Lucas special edition.
Yeah, I mean they won't, but I think that it's just as simple as that. But they're not like they're acknowledging the movie existed. They brought over what they needed, and I think that collectively, like the origins of the Hulk and what happened. They would say that those events occurred. It's just that they're not going to show them to you. They're not going to show you Ed Norton, and they've redesigned the Hulk to reflect Mark Ruffalo too.
They have.
So they can't show you that Hulk.
Chris, what do you think about that?
I mean, yeah, he's not the Hulk anymore. I think that's really what it boils down to.
But did I even show clips from that movie? Not even to talk about the events in that movie in this special? Because all their other Marvel Legends things, they've gone right back to the beginning with their characters. We first met Scarlet Witch here. And then blah, blah, blah. But they made the conscious decision just to not
even
do that.
Ed Norton one, though, we have like the real quick credits and everything, right, that are helping us get to where we need to be with where Ed is. That's hangover basically from the Ang Lee version, which we do not speak of. So, I mean, we've already had 3 Hulks. I feel like we're just trying to make it so it's consistent with Ruffalo. And when it comes down to it, hey, gamma radiation, boom, that's how he happened.
Still,
You're good.
Still, though, as you're watching this Marvel Legends, the Incredible Hulk thing, you could feel the world of fandom yelling out, "Where's John Campea?" I think maybe that's what this comes down to. That's why this is an issue for me, damn it. No, but seriously, I just thought it was interesting that in all the other ones, they go right back to the beginning. But this one, they kind of left out. Guys, question is for you. What do you think? Do you think it's as simple? I mean, probably is like what Rob is saying is like they just didn't want to cause any confusion by showing Edward Norton. Is it the fact that they're just kind of quietly saying, listen, we brought over Abomination, Thunderbolt Ross, but that movie doesn't really exist anymore. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Whatever your thoughts are, or maybe you're like the millions and millions of people who are like, where's John Campea? Why isn't he in that? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that down, let's now move on to main topic number 5. Chris, what is our 5th main topic today?
This one is from Slim Kim. Hey, John and crew. So I know we're all excited for Daredevil's return in She-Hulk, but the question is, will he still be dark or lighter in tone? Well, the head writer was asked about it, and it seems like he'll be on the lighter side, with her saying, quote, "People have already seen a version who is very dramatic, dark, brooding. I don't care either way, and I don't think anyone should be surprised by it. What are your thoughts?"
All right. Thanks a lot for saying that in, Slim Kim. And sometime yesterday, you could feel a tremor in the force. Like a million voices cried out in terror when headlines started swooping all over the place. Daredevil is being made more fun and lighthearted, and people going, no, and people like all of a sudden silenced. And where does this come from? Well, we know that Daredevil is going to be popping up in She-Hulk, right? Unfortunately, Rob and I have known this for 2 years. Daredevil's popping up in She-Hulk. We, however, thought it was going to be in the Spider-Man movie that they were going to be in together. But nope, no such thing. But we've all now seen in the trailers that Daredevil is clear. There's got the new, comic book classic yellow kind of outfit.
Which I love.
Which looks really good on him and all that kind of stuff. Well, one of the writers of She-Hulk, as Slim Kim was mentioning to, started talking about it and mentioned that it's going to be a more lighthearted Daredevil. This is what they had to say. This comes to us from Bounding Into Comics, who wrote this. After briefly noting that Matt Murdock actor Charlie Cox was so wonderful and so game to do whatever, and he's such a wonderful actor and a wonderful human being, Gao, one of the writers of She-Hulk, then revealed that what was so fun about bringing him and Daredevil into our world is that people have already seen a Daredevil who is very dramatic, a little bit on the heavy side, very dark, brooding. And it was so fun to be able to do what we do with every character cameo from the MCU, is we take them from the environment that you know them from, which is much more dramatic and action-oriented role, much more on the serious side, and we bring them into our world, and they get to play in the tone of She-Hulk. And they get to explore, and we get to see a lighter side of that character, and that comes to us from bounding into comics. Now, a couple of interesting notes on this, and again, we're going to find out definitively soon, but there's a couple of comments in there that still bring up that whole question about, is this truly the exact same Daredevil that was in the Netflix series, or is this just a very, very similar Daredevil? And terminology like, oh, now that we're bringing him into the world of the MCU, and now that we're doing all this kind of stuff, I just find those comments very, very interesting. But still, let's get back to the main thing here. So there's two ways of looking at this. On the one hand, there is them saying, yeah, we're going to look at the lighter side of this character. And that's got some people worried. Number one, that shouldn't have anybody worried. Like, adding another dimension to the character is not necessarily a bad thing. That doesn't necessarily also mean that they're eradicating other elements to their nature. All I'm saying here is that nothing in this comment seemed to be absolutely definitive. All that we do know is that they're going to add another thing. And by the way, I would suggest that his appearance in Spider-Man No Way Home showed a little bit of a lighter side of him as well. Like, what did they say? Oh, yeah, like, catches the break. How do you do that? I'm a very good lawyer. Like, come on, that was funny. And everybody loved the line. And nobody panicked. Nobody went, oh, my God. Matt Murdock made a joke.
No, everyone laughed and loved it.
He made a joke. What's happening? Like, nobody freaked out when he made the big funny in Spider-Man No Way Home, because that joke didn't undermine anything about the character that we necessarily like. It doesn't mean they won't undermine it, but from what we saw, we didn't see anything undermine it. And them adding in a moment of levity for him to make a really good joke, that just added to the scene and made it fun. And I think that's the one thing that people are losing sight of, that just because they're mentioning they're going to give him a little bit more of that, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to take away from a lot of things that we like about it. Also, let's look at this too. While they don't definitively say, hey, we're going to give him a lighter side, but it's only going to be in She-Hulk, let's also keep in mind that this is in She-Hulk. She-Hulk is a fourth wall breaking kind of world where they can get away with a little bit more of that stuff. And if they do put a little bit more jovial of a nature on them, that doesn't necessarily mean when we see this same Daredevil again in either Echo or the upcoming 18 episode Daredevil series, that they're necessarily going to bring that over into that as well. So it could mean that, but even if it does mean that, it's not necessarily bad news. So I just think people are getting a little bit too worked up, a little bit prematurely. I get it. After coming out of Thor, Love and Thunder, where they really leaned heavy into the silly aspects of the humor, and then all of a sudden you hear, they're going to make Daredevil more lighthearted, yuck, yuck, yuck. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that. So I think we're in good hands, and we're going to find out here pretty quick. Anyway, Chris, you hear these comments by the writer. What's your takeaway from it?
I love how polarized the internet gets so quickly. Like, he's going to be
no
lighter.
Facts or information.
Yeah, he's basically just going to be Chucklefuck McGillicuddy. Like that. It's just all jokes all the time now. Wong did karaoke in Shang-Chi, and we didn't panic about that, you know? And also, let's talk about Daredevil real quick. He wore a sweater to a Christmas party in the comics that says, I'm not Daredevil. He created a fake twin at one point to help further conceal his identity. Just because he's going to make a few jokes here and there doesn't mean that he's not going to fight crime the same way that we've seen. It's just perhaps not going to be as bloody, as brutal. Karen also didn't do heroin. I know I'm always like talking about this, but she didn't do heroin in the Netflix show, and we weren't upset by that. She just had a drinking problem. There are ways that you can adapt stories without having to completely upend them and change the nature of the character. It can still be true to the Matt Murdock we all know and love, but fit into this universe more seamlessly.
Rob, what do you think?
I couldn't have said it better than you just did.
Most of the Chuckle McGillicuddy part?
No.
I love
I mean,
that.
here's the thing. She-Hulk is a comedy series. It's designed to be a comedy series. One of my favorite comic runs of all time was Justice League from the mid-'80s that was comedic. I love the Justice League. I took it very seriously, but they decided to do a comedy Justice League with Batman and Guy Gardner's Green Lantern and Shazam, and it was hilarious. Now, I still got my serious Justice League, but when they took the concept of Justice League and you knew you were watching a comedic Justice League. It was funny. This show announces from the very beginning it is, like you said, a fourth wall breaking comedy. It's not like Thor: Love and Thunder, where we don't necessarily want an all silly movie all the time. We expect if you can have it be funny, but Thor is not. If they had announced this is Marvel's first comedy, it's Thor: Love and Thunder, and they leaned into the comedy, I don't think people would have had much of a it's Thor just shouldn't be as comedic. It didn't work. That was the whole thing about the silliness of the movie worked against the character and worked against the plot, I thought, of the film. But this already announces itself as a comedy. So if they're going to be taking down or sending up Daredevil, it's going to be because by design, within the context of this story, Daredevil can be funny. That doesn't mean that the same character, the same actor can't be dramatic and a badass when he's over on Echo, because Echo, the tone is inherently different. I mean, this is taking place in its own thing, and it needs to be, I think, looked at as such. Because like you astutely pointed out, in No Way Home, Daredevil could be funny. In that particular instance, it wasn't brooding. It was Matt Murdock, he's a lawyer. He's being hired to protect Spider-Man, and he can make a joke. Because he has his partner, Foggy Nelson. The guy's name is Foggy. You don't think they have fun
Avocado
together?
at law.
I mean, it's all depending on the context.
Here's a question. I think all of us at this table are not panicking because we acknowledge you can give him a new dimension. You can make him a little bit funny. That doesn't necessarily take away from the other thing.
And I've had 2 years to cope.
And okay, but let's speculate for a second. Let's say we start watching She-Hulk and we meet Matt Murdock and he is a jokester. Like he's just all the time silly, all the time just cracking wise and all that kind of stuff. Let's say he does do what everybody's worried about. Like everybody's at court, they're all worried he's going to become this big clown, right? Okay, let's say they do that. Will that be off-putting? Because I know for me, I'm like, hey guys, listen, it's in She-Hulk, they're going to do it differently. Adding humor doesn't take away from the other elements of them. But I got to admit, for me, if he does end up being exactly what everybody's so worried about them being, and I don't think it will, but if they did, I got to say that'll probably be a little bit off-putting for me. What about you?
Well, I mean, I think it won't, because the entirety of the show is designed to be a certain way. Whereas it's like watching a legal drama. You can watch a really serious legal drama, or then you can watch something more like Ally McBeal. And you know that within the context of Ally McBeal, they're going to lean into the humor of it more. But that doesn't mean I can't then go watch Paul Newman in The Verdict,
Right.
which is it's still about a lawyer, but it's a very serious. If you brought Paul Newman's drunk character into Ally McBeal, you could make him funny. But then he could still go back to The Verdict and tell a very serious story about this legal conundrum and a man trying to redeem himself. So I think with Daredevil, it's like putting him in the comedic version of Justice League. Suddenly everything's kind of funny. The whole thing is a comedy. You're just looking at it through a different lens.
All right, guys, question is for you. How panicked are you? Are you like a 0 on the me? It's like, no, this is going to be totally fine. Are you like the sky is falling, number 10? I don't know. What do you think about this? And how do you interpret the comments that we've seen? Are you really looking for, I know, I cannot wait for She-Hulk to start this week. We're going to get some answers here pretty quick. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys. with that down, we're going to move now into taking your live questions. So we are now opening up the super chats. If you got a thought, theory, observation, comment, question that you would like us to address, now's your time. Be quick though, because we only leave the super chats open for a couple of minutes. Now I know a bunch of you guys are feeling a little hairy and sticky about the whole Daredevil situation, but you know what'll help with that hairy, sticky feeling? Our friends at Manscaped. We want to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's video, Manscaped. Now, guys, you know I love Manscaped. You've heard me go on and on about the Lawnmower 4.0 and that body wash. I love it so much. And so we got to ask, guys, have you started your spring cleaning yet? The carpets need cleaning, the drapes need dusting, and your lawn needs mowing, gentlemen. And you guys know Manscaped is more than just one product. They have a whole lineup of products to help you guys feeling, smelling, and looking your best. And so Manscaped is proud to present to you the Performance Package 4.0, which is the only tool that you need to keep your boys looking, smelling, and feeling good this spring. Now, to start off with, you get the Lawnmower 4.0. Guys, we have talked about this. What is wrong with us? Why have we for so long been using these terrible tools that were never meant for cutting our hair down there? The razor clipper things on our electric razors. That's barbaric, guys. You need the Lawnmower 4.0. And then there's the Weed Whacker. You guys have heard our own Ray Ora talk about this thing. He loves using it to get that hair in your nose and the ear hair. And then they offer lots of other stuff like the Crop Preserver. It's an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. The Crop Reviver. It's a spray-on toner for your balls. And of course, they've got the perfect grooming tool for your face with the Plow 2.0, the perfect razor for the finest shave on that face. So guys, get 20% off plus free shipping with the code CAMPEA. That's CAMPEA at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the promo code Campea at manscaped.com. It's time to throw out your old hygiene habits and upgrade your life. And thank you to our friends at Manscaped for keeping us fresh and clean and for being a sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show. Dead serious, guys. You really got to try Manscaped. It's pretty awesome. Anyway, with all that down, let's get into hearing what you guys have to say. And we're going to start with our channel members. Ray, we got anything from our channel members?
Yeah, we got a couple. We got Rafael Castillo. He says, "Happy Monday, folks. I've been feeling great the past several days.
Nice.
And I hope you all have a great week."
Hey, listen, I had a great weekend, a really relaxing week. Got to spend a lot of time with Ann. Don't always get to spend a ton of time with my wife over the weekends. We did this weekend. It was great. And we're looking forward to a week ahead. Thanks for that, man. What's next?
Okay. Jackmaster Norid writes, "John, during JC23, you dropped major bombs. But why no mention of the A-Force, the Batman Beyond crew, or Campea After Dark shows?"
Well, we did kind of, well, you're right. We didn't, because there's really nothing to announce. I'm still going to do Campea After Dark, but here's the catch with Campea After Dark. It has to be on a weeknight when my wife, Ann, has other engagements. Because I don't get to spend nearly as much time with my wife as I would like to. And so when I have evenings free, that Ann is free, I'm spending them with my wife. So it's got to be on the nights that she's going to have like a D&D game. Actually, she's got a D&D game coming up this week, so I'll probably be able to set that. So it's only going to be that every once in a while. And we did kind of mention the Air Force thing, that we are going to try to figure out schedules once in a while when we can have Amy, Aaron, and Chris do the John Campea Show on certain days. Again, it's not going to be a regular thing because it's going to be us juggling schedules, but it will happen once in a while. All right, what's next?
Okay. Isaac Valenzuela writes, saw Kingdom of the Crystal Skull at 9 years old in 2008. My mom and dad and grandparents, who of course grew up with the originals, thought it was trash. I loved it and I loved it and still do. Kate Blanchett was dope.
Yeah, man, listen, if I saw Kingdom of the Crystal Skull when I was 9 years old, I probably would have thought it was like all that. I probably would have thought that too. So I don't blame you at all for that. It's kind of like the same argument I hear from a lot of people about the Star Wars prequels. Well, I watched Phantom Menace when I was 10 years old. Well, great. I'm happy for you. But you know, I didn't see it at 10 years old. So it's a little bit different for me. Probably why it was different for your parents as well. All right. What's next?
All right. Well, DAL and Sylvis the Slayer both gifted one John Campea membership.
Oh,
to
thank
somebody
you
in the
guys.
family.
It's awfully generous of you. Thank you so much for that, dudes.
Okay. Christopher
I
Mendez
love when
writes,
people do that.
"We need Chris Carr and Aaron Cummings in a horror movie. It needs to happen."
Hell yes.
That'd be watch if you ever seen a horror movie where the actresses just have their eyes closed the whole time, even while doing the movie.
We'd be
This would
great
be that
in
movie.
it, and then we'd never see it.
Yeah.
Hey guys, so one of the videos I am most excited about making, and it is coming, is when we do
coming.
Aaron and Chris watching The Descent. That is a video I am so excited about making. You'd have no idea.
I'm not.
It's gonna be so
The
great.
shocking turn of events. I'm not excited.
Logan, it's gonna be Logan's favorite video that
It
we
is
ever
going to be his
make.
favorite video.
In VR too.
All right, what's next?
Inside the Horseshoe Podcast says, "Hey guys, love all the work you guys do, and I can't wait for the Weekly Hero. Hope you all have a great week."
I am very excited. I mean, we've been talking for a year now about bringing back the Weekly Hero. And now that we're finally able to do it, and I'm so excited that Robert Meyer Burnett and Chris Carr are going to be hosting it. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be, we don't have a firm date yet, but it's going to be in the next couple of weeks. It's going to be really, really soon. And I'm very stoked about that thing coming back. All right, what's next?
Carlos Caseta writes, "Were you guys able to watch 13 Lives on Amazon about the kids in Thailand who got trapped in a flooded cave? Colin Farrell, Viggo Mortensen, and Joel Edgerton were great."
And most importantly, directed by Ron Howard. No, I mean, Ann and I, we went away for the weekend. And when we got back yesterday, I had to watch Day Shift and Secret Headquarters. So I didn't have any time to do that, unfortunately. Have you guys had a chance to watch
Yeah.
it
Watched
yet?
it.
Yeah, I watched it right when it dropped. I mean, I loved it. I thought it was great. I mean, it's beautifully made. It's really well done. But man, it gets tense. You'll be like, not since The Impossible. If you watch that about the tsunami, I was just like, it's if you're claustrophobic, you're not going to do well.
All right, what's next?
Kendall Barker writes, "With 18 episodes, do we think Daredevil will lean into the courtroom procedural approach?"
I think it's going to look with 18 episodes, it's going to give it the flexibility and the breathing room to be a lot of different things. I think it can lean into that. I think it can lean into a lot. I don't think it's going to be one single thing. Like I don't expect it to be an 18 episode legal case, right? You're going to have the action. You're going to have speculation. You're going to have a lot of kind of stuff. But I do absolutely think that's going to be a pivotal part of the character, 100%. All right, what's next?
Movie Fan 109 writes, "What's your guys' favorite Adam Sandler movie? Mine is I Pronounce You Chuck and Larry. Me
I
and my
hated that
longtime
movie.
friend have said that that's our plan if we end up single in our 40s. We're 21 now, more than halfway
Yeah,
there."
no, I hate that movie. That movie's absolute garbage in my opinion. I'm glad you like it. For me, it's The Waterboy. Waterboy's my favorite Adam Sandler one. What about you?
Ooh.
Happy Gilmore, baby.
Happy Gilmore's
Yeah,
good.
I think it's Happy Gilmore.
Wedding Singer.
Wedding Singer's
Oh,
another
Wedding
good
Singer's
one.
great.
Yep.
Did you
All right.
watch it when Sinespia did it?
No.
Oh, it was amazing. Everyone was just screaming the song about how much Linda sucks. Oh, so fun.
All right, what's next?
This is the last one. The Super Ranger Mud Truck writes, "Hey John, if I sent a question to the mailbag page, will it get answered on an open mic?"
No, open mic will not be answering questions from there. We've shut that down. We're only taking live questions on open mic, which start today. So no, the old mailbag link will not work. We're only taking live questions on that show. Thanks for asking, but we did mention that during the announcement there too. But it's fair that you asked. All right, with that down, let's move over to the super chat questions that people have been sending in. Chris, what do we got?
From James Argenta, Amber Midthunder is playing Princess Yue in Avatar.
Is she?
Yay.
That's amazing if that's true.
So dope.
I thought that thing was already shot.
Well, she was probably pre-cast.
I didn't know she was cast in it.
I didn't either.
That's one word in my head. If that's true, that gives me another reason to be freaking excited about that because she was so good in Prey.
Yep.
Woo! All right, thanks for that info. I like that. All right, what's next?
From Andy, 1 of 2. Hi, Rob. Thanks for suggesting 13 Lives. When they were talking about how to bring the boys out and the casualties that were expected, I was utterly horrified. Granted, it was probably because I was stoned as fuck while watching it, so I was more emotionally sensitive, but it's awfully scary nonetheless.
Like I just said, man, it was tense. And the idea, what I didn't know, John, is they had to sedate
Yep.
those boys
Yep.
because they couldn't afford to have them panicking while underwater. And I didn't know that. And I was just like, I'm like, oh my God, this is not going to be good. And it's great. They did a great job.
All right, what's next?
From Al Renshaw, John asks Ray about his foot. Ray, it's just a flesh wound. 'Tis but a scratch.
Just but a scratch. Listen, no kidding. Ann and I have been telling him for a while. You need to go get this looked at because it's obviously not just fixing itself.
Yeah.
We're going to have to get you a rascal.
What's a rascal?
Little scooters.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
just get him around.
Can't get him up the stairs though.
I'll build you a ramp, Ray.
All right, what's next?
From Fifi. If Secret Wars doesn't have a Saul Goodman Daredevil variant, then what was the point of doing multiverse stuff?
I'm going to be honest with you. Secret Wars right now, years in advance, is the first Avengers movie I am straight up not looking forward to. I actually don't think the comic story is all that good. And I think it's going to be absolute just nonsense on screen. But they do things a lot differently. And we've got years of build up to it for me to get on board with it. So
Yeah.
we'll see what it's, obviously it's not going to be exactly like the comic book series because none of their stuff is. So I have a lot of time to get excited to. But Rob, I'd be lying if I told you I was excited about it right now because I'm not.
Dude, I got to tell you, I mean, I liked Hickman's version of Secret Wars later, but the 80s version, like you said, it's kind of a one-note joke. Like, let's put all the villains and superheroes together and watch them fight. Well, that's fun for like a minute.
Look, T'Challa has the Infinity Gauntlet. It's like, okay, yeah.
I mean, you've got to have the story. And if this is truly the multiverse saga, we'll see where it sort of comes out. Like, what is the threat? What's going to happen? What's Kang's going to do in it? What does it all mean, John? I need some stakes is what I need.
All right, what's next?
Hey, you guys can hate it all you want, but that was a series that at my age got me into collecting comics and physical media. So some good came from it.
Oh,
Dang.
there you are.
you go.
I mean, yeah, this just like the guy watched Kingdom of the Crystal Skull when he was 9. I mean,
I'm not saying it was
happens.
great. I'm just saying it introduced me.
Yeah, I
so-
think it's true for a lot of people. I mean, listen, before they announced Secret Wars, I mean, over the years, a lot of people have brought up Secret Wars. It just because I didn't like it doesn't mean other people don't. I mean, so let's see what happens. All right, what's next?
From My Comic Planet, it was revealed that the average viewer of the CW is 58 years old. I'm shocked by that. I mean, what 58-year-old is watching Riverdale? Andy?
I can't believe that's an accurate number.
Someone tweeted it at me and then was like, is Andy 58 years old?
I can't believe that's an accurate. By the way, we should have talked about it off the top. We'll talk about it tomorrow, but it looks like CW's got a buyer. Somebody's just bought like a 75% stake in it. We should have talked about it today. We'll talk about it tomorrow. But I can't believe the average viewer is 58.
Well,
I can't
clearly
believe
that's
Vince
buyer
McMahon?
seen Riverdale.
Yeah, well,
Very
and
excited.
Well, yeah, very
congratulations.
happy about it.
I'm so excited that Andy's acquired the CW finally.
Yes,
That's
he's
really,
saved up all that money.
man.
All right, what's next?
From Terry McGinnis, tonight's the finale of Better Call Saul. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on the ending. Wait, you're not still sleeping on this show, are you?
Yeah, I still haven't watched it, so you're not going to be hearing us talk about
Or
the
me
ending of
either.
Better Call Saul tomorrow. So, unfortunately, that's just I just didn't keep up with it. I do plan to get re-caught up with it, but I just haven't, so we can't talk about it tomorrow, unfortunately. All right, what's next?
Justin Lee, the series finale of Better Call Saul tonight could end up being even better than Breaking Bad. Carol Burnett shattered my heart with one line.
I have
Carol
no idea
Burnett's
what we're
in it?
talking about. I have no idea what we're talking about. But if Carol Burnett's in it, that's pretty awesome. I mean, listen, again, I watched the first couple of seasons of Better Call Saul, really liked it. I just, then the season break happened. And by the time it started back up again, I was just too busy. I never got caught back up with it. So I've got several seasons I need to get caught up on. All right, what's next?
From Kendall Barker, will Happy Hogan be a client in She-Hulk?
I think it would be great if he was, but I don't think so. I mean, listen, one person who doesn't need somebody who's already got an army of their own lawyers will be Happy Hogan. So I really don't think so, but I think it would be pretty funny if they did. All right, what's next?
From Chef Rigo.
Chef Rigo.
Today is bittersweet. After 8 years, it's my last day working at Shogun.
Oh,
My boss asked me when I will be back. I said when the Chris Carr eats mozzarella sticks with sour cream. Just kidding. I'm still here.
you're still there. Okay.
Wow.
That's not funny.
My heart skipped a beat,
yeah,
Chef
that's
Rigo.
not funny. That's
It'll
not
be
funny.
a
But yes,
cold day in hell when the Flash is released and I eat that mozzarella stick
she's
with
going
sour
to try
cream.
them. She's going to try them. You watch. She's
During
going
the
to like
descent.
her eyes will open for the first time.
What are they now?
They're closed. They're scaled over by hardship and hatred and years of regret. 'Cause
Of
you haven't
anyone in
had-
this room, I'm definitely the most hate-filled human.
Wow.
But when you try the glory that is mozzarella sticks dipped into some sour cream, you'll be like, this is a whole new world. I didn't know it could be like this.
No.
All right, what's next?
Gutter palette. Wraith X7. As originally created, Daredevil wasn't a grim and gritty superhero. That came many years later under Frank Miller. There
There is so much stuff about, I get into arguments all the time with people online. It's like, and the comics, the character isn't this. And I'm like, actually, they used to be. The comic character has to have this. You know, for the first couple of decades that character existed, that was never a part of what they were. One of the most recent ones that come up we've been talking about Eric and Magneto a lot. And one of the big debates right now is like, should they maintain the Jewish heritage and all that kind of stuff? Well, it's like, it's such an important part of the character. It's like, well, you do know for like the first 20 years that Magneto was around, that was never a part of their story. Nope. They changed that. So if they change something, it could be even better. So I don't know, but it's something that comes up all the time because comic history, man, is like, they've changed so much stuff about what powers they have, what their origin stories are, who their identity even is. Like, it's always changed all that. What would you, Rob?
Superman never used to fly.
Superman didn't fly. Like, how far, do you know off the top of your head? Because I don't, but like, how far into his existence in comics till they finally gave him the power of flight? That's where the whole thing can leap over. For a lot of people to hear, can leap over buildings in a single bound. What he flies? No. That saying came from before the character ever flew.
Absolutely. It was, I think, I don't know to tell you, I'd have to go back and look. But it was not like within the first year. You know, it came way later. And that happens with a lot of characters.
Yeah.
So... Batman too. Batman used to kill people
a lot.
Batman used to have a gun.
Superman number 10, 1941.
Superman number 10.
But it came out in 38, December of 38, right?
So for years,
because remember, it was Action Comics first.
Yeah, it was Action Comics
So
with that
it took
iconic
3
one that
years.
pulled the thing up. But I mean, I've got panels of Batman with his gun out and like shooting bad guys and killing a lot of fools.
Oh, yeah.
So there's different times.
Well, that's
all right,
super.
what's next?
From Connie saying, hi,
Connie.
happy birthday month to you, Chris. Thank you. I turned 40 today. What?
Happy
no, you
birthday,
don't.
Connie.
Connie looks like no bullshit. Connie looks 21.
She looks significantly
like in
younger
Vegas.
than that.
I was like, I don't know if we should drink with you. You look like a baby. We're supposed to get drinks with her too.
She was up in Napa.
Ooh,
I don't know. Maybe
okay,
she's still there.
fancy.
oh, is she? Was she up in Napa?
She was up in Napa this weekend.
Good for her, celebrating her
She might still be
birthday.
there. Yeah.
Good for
Messaging
her
me
on
about
that.
getting drinks in NoHo.
We should go get drinks in NoHo.
You gonna go to No Bar?
Let's do that.
I love No Bar.
What's that?
It's a local thing, man.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude.
Listen,
All right,
in the
what's
valley,
next?
we've got No Bar, vampires, and porn. Let us have our
That's
thing.
what's down there.
Al Renshaw. Someone needs to Photoshop meme of guy smirking with swords pointed at him with Chris and her blasphemous opinions on Rogue One.
Hey, listen, this isn't like Godfather. It's not like you have to search high and low to find anybody who doesn't like Rogue One. No, Rogue One has its detractors. It absolutely does. So it's not that rare of an opinion that Chris is like, not Chris. Chris isn't some aberration of nature. There are other people out there who do
Not
not
in this
like that
case.
movie. Not in this case, at
Well,
any rate.
and it's one of those things too of I think it's okay, and everyone's like, "What?
You hate Rogue
You
One?
hate it? No,
No, I just said it's
I
okay.
just think it's fine."
That, I got the same thing when Mad Max Fury Road came out. I said, I think it's really good, but I think it's really good, but I don't think it's like super awesome.
What?
Campea hated Fury Road. Like, no. I think it's quite good. I just didn't think it was like a Best Picture contender that some people
But it
thought
was.
Did it get nominated for Best
I think
Picture?
so.
I know it got nominated for a bunch. I can't remember if it got nominated for Best Picture.
I think
Now I
it
got to
did.
look that. Ray, can you look up if
Yeah,
Fury
sure.
Road got nominated for Best Picture?
Nominated for Best Guitarist.
Yeah, that's for sure.
That
It
that's
won
right.
that award.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
From My Comic Planet, happy 50th birthday to Ben Affleck. What's your fave Affleck film?
My favorite Ben Affleck film
It did.
it did get nominated for Best Picture that year. See, I didn't think it deserved to be nominated for
10
Best Picture, but I thought it was really good. I thought it was really good. I just didn't think it deserved to be nominated for Best Picture. My favorite performance of his is Changing Lanes with Samuel L. Jackson.
Ooh.
That's the movie to me. Like when he got nominated when he got announced as Batman, I'm like, you never saw Changing Lanes. You never, because he's really good in that. But my favorite is going to be Batman versus Superman because I love his iteration of Batman so much. It's the iteration of Batman I've been waiting to see on screen like my whole life. So that is why I'm going to say that. What about you? What's your favorite Ben Affleck?
I mean, I love Dogma and Argo, but come on, Retainer, Good Will Hunting. He's killer in that as Chucky.
He's so good in that. What about you?
Gone Girl.
Oh, such a good
But
movie.
you know what? I'm gonna get. I loved him as a young Jack Ryan in The Sum of All Fears. I love me some Sum of All Fears. He's really good in that.
I like that. That's what he did with Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
I like that movie. It's probably my least favorite Jack Ryan thing, though. No. I take that back. The Chris Pine.
Yeah, Shadow of
That
Creed.
was my least favorite Jack Ryan thing. Then after that would probably be that. All right, what's next?
From Rafael Castillo. Speaking of finding out your dad is a superhero, that scene in Unbreakable when Bruce Willis pushes that article towards his son and slowly nods his head and his son cries is powerful and emotional.
That's a really good movie.
It is a good movie.
I always liked it, but it's a movie that I feel if you watch it today, it's better than if you watch it when it first came out. Because like Mystery Men, I think Unbreakable was ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Like way ahead of its time. And that you're right, that's a really good scene. All right, well pointed out. What's next?
From Attack of the Mushi, did Riri receive a Stark internship in Civil War?
I don't think it's ever mentioned. But I mean, they could always say that that's the case.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's nothing
Do a
excluding
flashback
that.
or anything.
All right, what's next?
From Andy, more of the story from what I got at the beginning of this show. You can't do drugs if you have a hot toy in both hands.
That's right.
That is true.
Keep your kids safe. Keep your kids on the straight and narrow, folks. Buy your kids hot toys. Then they'll just be too busy.
They're
to
more
get into the
expensive than drugs,
They're more expensive, but they won't drop out of college.
and they
start
don't
riding the
lose their
pole.
value.
All right, what's next?
From Blake62, you can have a Feige produced, Spielberg directed Star Wars episode 10, 11, 12 starring Day-Lewis, but it's the last work they'll all ever do. Do you take it?
Heck yes. Of course, yes. I mean, listen, because Daniel Day-Lewis is already retired. So he would, number one, he would have to come out of retirement to do that. Spielberg's in his 70s. He ain't gonna be doing this forever. So absolutely. And, Kevin Feige, he's already made what? 50 movies, if you count even his pre-MCU stuff. So yes, if you said we would get Star Wars 10, 11, and 12, which would probably take place over the course of 6 years, that is produced by Feige, directed by Steven Spielberg, and starring the greatest actor of all time, yes. There's no question the answer to that is yes. 100% yes. All right, what's next?
I drink your midi-chlorians. I drink them up.
Drink them up.
Harry, For All Mankind is hands down the best show on TV. Like Apollo 13 meets West Wing with all the marks of excellence that the comparison implies. A masterclass in storytelling. Snubbed for best drama.
I mean, people aren't watching it.
Yep.
It's on Apple Plus. I'm surprised, but I'm watching though on social media this cult. There's now a cult of For All Mankind that you see it developing, Ray.
Yes.
I mean, it's developing. More and more people are coming to the show.
I mean,
It's like Schitt's Creek.
but here's the crazy thing. It's not nominated because people don't watch it. I mean, like Hacks and like a lot of shows that don't have a big viewership get big nominations. Schitt's Creek. A lot of people slept on Schitt's Creek until it won all the Emmys,
Yep.
right? So I mean, maybe as we get a little bit further into For All Mankind, you start seeing that.
I do think though it is kind of a very niche
It is.
sort of a show.
Sure.
It requires a certain sensibility to really get into it.
But it's really good. All right, what's next?
From Stubble McShave. Last week, I realized it took 5 stiff drinks to bypass my brain and enjoy Moonraker. Now I'm going to watch all Bond movies while inebriated.
It's a good plan, John. I was going to do drunk James Bond commentary, and I only did one on Moonraker. And then I realized perhaps I should never release this because it just made me look like a big old drunk. But it was a great way to watch that movie.
Yeah, not one of the best James Bond movies.
No.
But some of the most memorable James Bond stuff is in it.
You know,
Yeah,
like
it's
Jaws,
a fun
dancing
movie.
in space.
Yeah, I mean, all right, what's next?
Space Marines, dude.
From Andrew Rice. John, I unapologetically love Fievel Goes West, American Tales
Yep.
Western sequel. Yes. And I just got my first tattoo, and it's of Tiger Dom DeLuise as a cowboy.
Oh my God. Oh, Chris, you look like you're going to explode.
This is amazing. Send us pictures. It's so good.
Fievel Goes West was, I think I only ever watched it once, but I think I remember liking
Oh,
it.
it's great.
It is good.
Is it really that
His
good?
sister becomes a singer, and they sing a song called "So Where's the Girl You Left Behind?" It's so cute. Oh, there's a spider. Aaron would hate it. I love it.
All right.
But
What's
it's
next?
animated.
She'd still hate it. I think.
Oh, she would still hate it.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
They freak her out.
I took her to see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and there's that one quick scene where the little red animated spider, she nearly ripped my arm
Yeah.
off. Like it took her like 5 minutes to recover. It's crazy. All right, what's next?
From Trevor. Saw E.T., my all-time favorite movie, in IMAX this past weekend. Man, what a great movie.
Truly is.
Listen, there's a reason why it's endured for so long. Why, like you say, phone home and everybody still knows what you're talking about. Like, it's one of those things where even people who've never seen the movie understand a lot of it. It's not like Star Wars, but still understand a lot of ET references. I know Spielberg said they'd never do it, but that one damn Super Bowl commercial really made me believe you could absolutely do one. Now that Elliot is, he's a father with maybe teenagers of his own at this point, and ET now comes back. I honestly think there's something to do there. There's a story to tell there. I think it would be great, but probably never happen. All right, what's next?
From Scotty Hale, I bring gifts. The boys' crew went to Toronto over the weekend,
Nice.
and Keith Urban confirmed filming starts today for season 4 of The Boys. Give it to me.
Carl Urban.
I was going to say Keith Urban, not so much. Where are you going with
They were
Keith Urban?
swapping them out.
In AMC theaters.
Yeah,
gone
not
north.
so much Keith Urban. Yes, Carl Urban. Yes, Ann and I were talking about this over. They confirmed the season 4 of The Boys has started filming. Season 3 was so good.
So good.
I think the best season they've had so far. This show just keeps rocking along, and I don't know how, but apparently just gets better and better and better. I get more and more every time you think that, okay, eventually this character's steam will run out and this character's steam will run out and this, but like Starlight, I thought Starlight is going to be kind of, okay, she's kind of a cutesy character. Season 1, love interest for Huey, but I get more and more interested in Starlight as we go. Homelander, like whenever you think you can't possibly make this character more diabolical, and every year they do. It's just, I don't know how they do it. It's absolute brilliance, that show. All right, what's next?
From Lucky BX, hi crew. Fun theory. What if Happy is a Skrull and May found out and that was the reason she broke up with him in No Way Home?
There was nothing in No Way Home that remotely suggested that she broke up with him because she found out he was an alien. Like that would be a massive retcon that wouldn't fit. I don't know, Chris, what do you think?
I mean, sometimes relationships just run their course, guys.
Yeah,
and you
people
don't know
break up.
why that you just don't feel it in your heart that you should be with that person, even if they're the wonderful Happy Hogan.
Yeah.
And I kind of think Aunt May would dig it if he was a Skrull.
Yeah.
I don't think she'd break up
I
with
think
him.
Aunt May was a bit of a freak.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hell
so
yeah.
Aunt May should have been down with that. All right, what's next?
From Elmist, hey crew, I loved Sandman. I hope they make a season 2, but I worry they won't due to the high budget and if WB is willing to greenlight it. And if WB is willing to greenlight it.
I mean, if they've got a customer for it, they'll make it. That's the thing when you have, remember, WB is like two different entities. They are production and there's WB TV, there's all that kind of stuff. And then there's just distribution. If they've got a customer willing to pay for that show and to acquire it, to distribute it like a Netflix or something else, they'll make it. I have not watched beyond episode 6 because I finally got up to episode 6, which was one of my favorite episodes of television I've seen in a long time. And that was easily the best of the series so far. But I must admit, I've hesitated on watching past because I've heard a number of people, including you, Rob, say that after episode 6, the show kind of changes.
It does.
And I've heard a lot of people say not necessarily for the better. So I haven't seen episode 7 and on yet, but I've seen up to 6. What is it, without giving away any spoilers, like why do you think like so many people have been warning me that it's not the same show after episode 6?
Well, because it's the rest of the series is one long narrative story as opposed to different stories or
About
two
Desire?
different stories. No.
Oh,
But-
okay.
But Desire is part of this. But for the most part, it's a very different kind of story. The Sandman is an anthology. Each one of the story blocks is very, very different. The first book, Preludes and Nocturnes, which is where up to episode 6 goes, was a different story every issue. So by design, it was different. And then it goes into these longer story arcs for the rest of the...
Yeah, I see like a lot of people in the live chat, like LC is saying 7 to 10 fall a little bit flat, a little bit flat. Plus is saying, yeah, more Pious is saying that 5 and 6 were fantastic. I thought they were fantastic as well.
It's just very different.
Yeah.
very different.
It's very different.
So
But I
will.
loved it.
I'll finish it off, though. I'll finish it off. All right, what's next?
From Lucky BX, hi crew. What if the Madam Web movie takes place in an alternative universe where Uncle Ben lives and Aunt May dies, or Ben never met May?
Then that's what happens. I mean, whenever people start off questions with what if, but then they never actually pose a question. Like,
Right.
okay, what if this, and this? Could that mean that this would be this and this? Because the answer to what if questions is always, well, then that's what would be. Now, obviously we've got some casting rumors. Like there's rumors that Adam Scott is going to be playing Ben. We don't know that for a fact, but there are rumors going around about. There have been rumors swirling about that for months, actually.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I mean, they could do it. Maybe yes, maybe no.
It
Don't know.
makes sense because Madam Web's whole thing is connecting all the
Multidimensional
various
stuff.
dimensions. Yeah. So
Could be. Never know. All right, what's next?
from Bird Hop, saw Rob Zombie in concert last week.
Nice.
3/4 through his set, it stopped to show the Munsters trailer. Let's just say the crowd was bewildered.
I get why he would do that. I do. I get why he would do that. Listen, I'm actually a big fan of Rob Zombie's music. I've been for a long, long time. Not as big of a fan of him as a filmmaker. I've been very clear about that.
Yeah.
But I would love to go to see that show. Even with them showing the Munsters trailer, I would go see that show.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
From Matthew Carter, sending in a $20 super chat.
Thank you, Matthew.
It's been like 3 weeks now, but I still can't get that Black Panther trailer out of my head.
Yeah.
Give Angela Bassett the Oscar now. Do you think if Ryan Coogler pulls this movie off, that this puts him in the GOAT conversation?
Oh, hell no. Not by a fucking mile. Like Ryan Coogler, like ask that question again in 20 years, and he very well could be. But ask Ryan Coogler in the GOAT conversation. Listen, Fruitvale Station's a great movie. It's a great movie. Creed is a really good movie. No conversation anywhere is Creed in like one of the best movies of all time conversations. I would propose that he doesn't yet have a single movie that's in the best movie of all time conversation. But he's got like really 4 significant movies on his resume, from Fruitvale, Creed, Black Panther 1, and he's got this new one coming out. So it doesn't matter how good Black Panther 2 is yet. That's not enough to get you in that conversation. Like not nearly enough. So again, I'm not saying that 10 years from now, he won't be in that conversation because he's really freaking good. But at this point, no chance. No chance at this point. All right, what's next?
From Norwegian Kryptonian, the DCU should have started with a Polka Dot Man movie. Trust me, would have changed everything.
Would have changed a lot for sure. God, Polka Dot. Like, how does James Gunn take this utterly preposterous stuff, like Polka Dot Man,
Yeah.
and make it so great?
I cared so much about him.
I mean, it's like everything about him is so wonderful. Like what James Gunn did with King Shark in that movie too. Like I know I've talked about it a lot, but there's a scene in that Suicide Squad movie where so much story is told without a single line of dialogue, and it's just James Gunn has this understanding how to use his visuals to tell story. They're driving through town in this van, and just with King Shark looking outside and observing certain things, and then the way it cuts back to him and the slight little expressions he makes. Like we learned more about King Shark in that one moment than we did in all the rest of the movie. It's moving, and it's like just James Gunn is a freaking freak of nature. And by the way, he's super awesome in Harley Quinn so far too this season. So I really like him in that. All right, what's next?
From Cody Carroll, Ray, will you be watching Dragon Ball Super?
My foot is better, yeah. I plan to on Thursday
What?
Why do you need your
What does
foot
your
to
foot being
watch?
better have to do with it?
because I gotta be able to walk up to the theater, right?
Oh, is this,
Oh.
okay. So this is in theaters. It's not streaming.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
it's in theaters.
That makes more
Okay.
sense. That makes more sense. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like,
no,
why?
same page. I was like, no.
No, see, at home, Ray only watches TV standing up.
Yeah.
That's how he gets his steps in on his thing. He just watches TV. Okay. All right. What's next?
From Tyler Pfeiffer, I have never seen someone so out of touch with the source material than the Rings of Power cast and showrunners. It's getting embarrassing.
Here's the thing. You know what? I'm just not even going to respond to that. I'm just not going to. There is so much artificially constructed fake narrative that's being passed around right now that let's just see. Like, what's that?
Can I know where this is coming from? Because the show's not out, right?
No,
No.
but no, there is a whole movement of very politically based pre-hate for this show. That's all politics based. It's completely like you could already feel the national cry factor go up the moment they saw somebody with black skin in a
Oh,
trailer.
Yeah.
God. Oh.
I mean, there
Lord of the
just
Rings
is.
is so woke.
Now listen, that doesn't mean like I may watch this show and hate it. I mean, we all might watch the show. It might be absolute garbage, but the pre-narrative of, you know what?
Just
I'm just going to say it. I don't know what the fuck happened to fandom in the last couple of years. And this came up right around the anniversary of John Schnepp's death. Because a few of us were having a conversation, and the status of fandom today, I mean, John Schnepp would be disgusted by it. John Schnepp would just straight up be disgusted with the state of a lot of what calls itself fandom today. Because there's a segment of fandom that has just turned into a bunch of fucking ass-scratching crybabies. I don't know what happened. Now, granted, I'm older than a bunch of people who are online today. I get that. But I often find myself asking, what the fuck happened to men? Where are the men? Because I look in a lot of segments of online fandom today. I don't see men. I see whining little bitches, whining little babies, where they would be happy to burn down and ruin fandom for the sake of a few clicks. And so much today is just, you go to a bunch of YouTube channels, and I'm not calling out any individual, but it's a pattern online now where there's so many YouTube channels you go to, and every freaking video is, I'm crying about this today, and come back tomorrow, cry about the same thing today. Cry, 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 whine, bitch. Where are the fucking men? They've been replaced by these sucky little babies everywhere. These little insecure bitches that just have to cry every day. Every day has to be cry. Why? Because hate bait does draw clicks. Believe me, I know this better than anybody, because I get a lot of people writing to me saying, John, you should do more rants. John, you should do more, because I go on there are things in fandom that I don't like. There's things out there in the media that I don't like. Absolutely. And once in a while, I'll go on a thing, but I defy you. Go onto my videos page list, go down the latest 50 videos. Tell me how many are hate-based videos. I hate this, and blah, blah, blah. And that's my headline. I hate this. And here's why this sucks. There's so much, but because it's such easy clicks, I get why a lot of younger YouTubers kind of gravitate towards it, because you want to see, the idea of doing a YouTube channel for a lot of people is to get clicks. I get that. I do. But when you're willing to burn down fandom, because like John Schnepp would always say, and this is where I got it from, John Schnepp would say, fandom is about celebrating what we love. That's what fandom is supposed to be. Celebrating what we love. And there are dark corners of what call themselves fandom today is just all about, here's what I want to whine and cry about today, and I'm going to do it every day. And so much of it, by the way, is politically based. Like, we avoid politics as much as we can on the show, but so much of it is just all politically based. It's like, and again, like I said, we're going to watch the Lord of the Rings show, and it may suck. It may absolutely suck, and I may absolutely end up hating it. But again, it's just become so heartbreaking when you see a Lord of the Rings trailer came out, there was somebody with dark skin in it, and you knew, the moment that trailer dropped, you knew there's a certain segment of online that is just now going to war with this show before they've seen a single fucking episode. Why? Because there aren't men anymore. There are these insufferable, day in, day out, cry myself to fucking sleep pussies. And it irks me. It really does. And it doesn't irk me because personally, I just make certain choices about, I know what draws clicks. I know there's certain things I could do that would get more clicks and make my channel bigger, but that's not what I want to do because I love fandom. And I'm sure I do things that damage fandom sometimes, and I regret it when it happens and whatever, but I want my channel to be a place that builds fandom, that we celebrate. We start off every show. Welcome to John Campea Show. As you gather together, we all gather around to celebrate the things we love. Movies, movie news, TV, and streaming. And of course, that means there are things that I don't like. Of course, there are things that I'll complain about. And every once in a while, I'll have my own little boo-hoo cry session. There's something John doesn't like. Absolutely, that happens. That happens to all of us. But I just remember, because Rob, I talked to you about it right around the anniversary of Schnepp's death. It was just that, like, I just think about what Schnepp loved about fandom so much, and it kind of became a mantra of mine when he said that fandom is about celebrating, and yet so much of YouTube now has become this place of how can we put more big eye, red eyes, whatever, and like, this sucks, and this, hate this, and we hate everything. Everything is a fucking mess. It's like, no, I'm not going to say it again. I mean, it's just, what happened to just, like, I get it. If there's something you don't like, say you don't like it. Like, guess what? I hated Day Shift. I'm not going to spend the next 12 days making a new video every day about why Day Shift is ruining movies. Say you don't like something, and then move on to talk about things you do like. And the next time something comes up that you don't like, say you don't like it, say why, make your case, and then move on and start talking about what you do like.
I got to interrupt you for a second, because was that Tyler who asked that question? Tyler Pfeiffer? Well, he wanted to clarify. He just sent a premium chat. It has nothing to do with the black actors' politics. They don't understand simple lore. Characters not acting the way they're supposed to, etc.
Again,
so just in case,
yeah, but what I would say
though.
is you don't know that until you watch one fucking episode.
Yeah.
Watch an episode. And guess what? It may very well, that may be the case. But to see the war that's being waged against that show, and it's not, but by the way, nobody was surprised. As soon as we saw the first trailer and we saw there was female characters and black characters, we knew that there was going to be a war waged against it. To wage that war before a single fucking episode has come out, it just highlights to me what I think has become a real sickness, cancerous thing about fandom these days. That kind of breaks, and I get emotional about it because I love being a part of fandom so much. I love being able to get together, whether it's in person with friends or online with virtual friends, to celebrate and talk about the things we really like, and to talk about the things we're excited about, and to talk about why we love this stuff. And once in a while, complain about something, but complain about it and then move on and get back on to celebrating what we love. And it scares me to think about where YouTube is going to be 3 or 4 more years from now if this doesn't get brought into check. But anyway, that was me.
Yeah, Rob.
Ranting on.
Hey, man, I didn't mention Star Trek Discovery once during this rant. Guilty as charged.
I'm just saying that's just my kind of unasked for
But
opinion.
I
on
would
the whole
say this. The upcoming season of Star Trek Picard is very exciting to me.
All right. Anyway, let's get off my soapbox now and move on, shall we? What's next?
From Jason Damasi, I think Hulk wasn't shown since Universal owns the rights. Disney Plus never did a Legends of Spider-Man when No Way Home came out.
I think
Legends
it was-
4, excuse me.
I don't know if that's accurate as the production company, if they have the right to utilize that footage in something else. I don't know that that's accurate, but that's not a bad theory. That's actually not a bad theory at all. I need to look into that because again, there's 2 sets of right? There's distribution rights, there's production rights. And I think as the production company, they would have the right to reuse that, but maybe not. That might be a really good observation.
You'd have to pay a reuse fee.
Yeah, maybe. So that's actually not a, you know what? Well pointed out. That could actually be it exactly. Good point. All right, what's next?
From Danger Diaz 007. My bud and I looked at DC versus Marvel heroes as distinct in that DC heroes kind of seem like gods trying to be men in the story, and Marvel seem like men trying to be gods in terms of powers, origins, etc. Bring on the filthy.
That's an interesting take on
I
that.
like that.
Because it's true. When you look at like DC, Batman's a big obvious exception, right? Like everybody is, what would they call with X-Men? Alpha level? Is that what they call them? Or what is it?
Omega level?
Omega level, thank
Yeah.
you. Where like Wonder Woman is Omega level, like really Aquaman is Omega level, or Superman is obviously Omega level, Green Lantern's Omega level, and blah, blah. But I mean, you could kind of say that too about a lot of the Marvel characters, couldn't
Well,
you?
you could say, I mean, I've always heard that the DC characters are the gods and the Marvel characters are the demigods. And even Batman is god level in terms of his heroics and his legend and he's not somebody like I don't identify with Batman as a character. I identify with Steve Rogers as a character though. I love Batman. I've loved Batman my whole life. But Batman doesn't really exist in the same way for me that Steve Rogers does. Because I was that young nerd that wanted to be that strapping dude, you know, that fought. I didn't get to fight World War II, but I would have enlisted. But Batman to me is always more of a fantastical fantasy character.
I was a privileged child who wanted to punch people, so I get him.
All right, what's next?
From Tyler Piper, the Comic-Con panel and interviews since are really discouraging. I was excited until then. Oh, about Lord of the Rings stuff?
I actually really liked the Comic-Con panel. I thought it was really, really great. But I mean, again, listen, listen, this show is a long list of shows and movies that I've been very excited about that I end up being very disappointed. And that very well could be this show, but I actually quite like the panel.
Well, I think a lot of it is that, the fact that they're calling it Lord of the Rings, which I understand why, but the fact that it's about the second age of Middle Earth and they don't have the rights for the Silmarillion, for instance, or a lot of Legendarium. I think from a fan perspective, they're trying to make a show where they have an incomplete set of original material from Tolkien.
Right, that they're having to build around.
Yeah, and they have to make a lot of what they're doing up. Now, that doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be bad, but they do have to make a lot of stuff up that isn't, and that was a function of the people getting the rights. They were only allowed to get the rights to the appendices from Return of the King. So I can understand from a fan perspective, but on the other hand, you kind of do have to wait and see if the show is what it is. You got to give the creators an opportunity to make what they're making. And then if you want to hate it,
do so objectively.
Discovery. Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. I mean, I understand that, but hating on things before you've seen them has always bothered me.
See, like the Batman, right? Matt Reeves, that was not strictly based on any source material. That was, they took concepts and ideas from a bunch of fragmented pieces from different things, other thing. But ultimately, at the end of the day, Matt Reeves had to kind of make his own thing based on those fragments and put it together. That's not unlike what's happening with Lord of the Rings. However, just because it worked for the Batman does not necessarily mean that that's going to work for the Lord of the Rings series.
I mean, for me, when it comes to Star Trek, not to belabor the point, but in terms of where they decided to set the Discovery show, and they set it in a certain era of Star Trek that we've seen, and as a fan, I've watched since I was a kid. The fact that it's so different, and yet they're trying to say that it's from that same era, is difficult for me as a fan to come to grips with. And it sort of, it colors my ability to look at something objectively. I'll put it that way.
How measured, Robert. Ooh.
All right, what's next?
From Jordan Patterson, Daredevil is blind. Echo communicates via signing. How are they going to talk?
That's a very good question.
Wow.
There's going to be a translator for Echo.
Maybe that's a scene in She-Hulk.
Okay. So Echo could easily read lips. So that's one thing. Daredevil being blind.
Usually the one bro is translating for Echo.
Yeah, they'll probably, I mean, obviously one died, but they could replace that. Yeah, but no, that's a very good question. I hadn't even thought about that. All right, what's next?
From Ben Rayner sending in a $20 super chat.
Thanks, you, Ben.
I'm excited about the lighter Daredevil. In my opinion, the Netflix was too dour for me personally. I understand people like that and will be pissed. Hopefully they will find a nice balance between happy and dark. Bring on She-Hulk.
I mean, it all depends. Look, there's so much that's unknown about Daredevil, but I've learned this in being a fan of various things for as long as I have. Never convince yourself that the way you picture something in your head is the only way it can be for you to enjoy it. I have fallen into that trap many times and many times found out that that wasn't true. So they may not be changing really anything about Daredevil. They may be changing a lot. But not changing anything doesn't mean it'll be good, and changing a lot doesn't necessarily mean it'll be bad. So I don't know, Rob. What do you think?
Well, I keep going back to the Justice League comic. There was in the early issues of that comic, Batman is played, his stoicism, his Batman-ness was always made fun of because he was so, and he gets into a beef with Guy Gardner's Green Lantern in this famous moment. Batman's tired of his BS and punches him in the face around all the justice. Guy Gardner is taken out, goes down, and the rest of the Justice League is surrounding, looking at Guy Gardner, and they're all going, one punch. Batman took you out one punch. And it's hilarious. And but it's still played off the fact that Batman was Batman. Like, it didn't denigrate the character at all. He was still Batman and he was still a badass, but it was hilarious at the same time. And I think the thing that I think people are worried about here is that will Daredevil be neutered as a character, or
Right.
will he
Yeah,
not?
that's the
will
fear.
he be disrespected? But I don't think so, because within the context of the show, you're not going to fundamentally change the character of Daredevil. He can still walk out and fight the Hand.
Right.
You know, he can still walk out and take on Kingpin. It's just in the context of the She-Hulk series, the nature of Daredevil can be flipped and you can laugh and have fun with it, but it doesn't change the character. It just changes within the show the way we look at the character. Because I'm telling you, that's
Well
why
said.
that Justice League comic was so hilarious, because they took all of the things that we all knew. You know, Teen Titans Go, the animated Teen Titans Go, did the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
From Timothy Garrett Fullman, Rob, my fellow Blink, new Blackpink this Friday. Woohoo! Are you hyped?
Okay, wait. Is that what you call themselves? Blinks?
Well, you could, I guess. Pinkertons.
You know what? There are worse fan group nicknames I've heard. You know what? So I take that
Cumberbitches.
back.
There is,
Cumberbitches.
Cumberbitches is a bad one. Yeah.
and my friend, the lovely Emma Bannon in the UK, she's getting me hooked up with, there's a big, I guess it's a CD box set. Blackpink CD box set.
All right, what's next?
From Al Renshaw. Hey, Chris and the crew. What's more believable? The Flash being a real movie, Toretto and Fast 9, or surviving a nuclear blast by hiding in a fridge?
Yeah, The Flash being a real movie. I mean, that's as unbelievable as it may be, that is still the most believable out of the three scenarios.
I can't weigh in on Toretto. I still have never seen a single film.
Well, you've seen...
Except for Hobbs and Shaw.
Yes, you did see Hobbs and Shaw.
Where he is not there.
That is not there at all, so you just
I don't know. I don't know that man.
All right, what's next?
From Harry, trailer for season 3 on Apple has me hyped. John, I know you tapped out on season 1, but season 2 of C was every bit as sensational as season 1 was mediocre. The single biggest turnaround of a show I can ever recall.
I keep hearing that.
Logan loves this show.
Logan likes it?
Yeah, he loves it.
Yeah, but he loves Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, too.
I know.
But like,
I know.
Everybody knows I love Jason Momoa. And so when I saw that he was in the show C, I mean, that was the one Apple Plus show that I was actually kind of excited about. And it was awful. Now I saw Dave Bautista comes in and I thought, well, seeing Jason Momoa and Dave Bautista, but I couldn't take it after season 1. I just couldn't take it. So I believe you, but the problem is the show's already lost me, so I don't think I can get on it at this point. But I have heard others say, like you, Rob, I've heard others say that season 2 was actually pretty good.
I
just can't get back into it though. I just can't. All right, what's next?
No, make fun of me.
From Suthius, why not have it more lighthearted? I'm always down to see new versions of a character. If you want the same Daredevil, he's here on Disney Plus to the max 13 for you to enjoy some double D.
Listen, I actually think that's a excellent point.
Yeah.
It's like, look, we've had that iteration of Daredevil. We had 3 seasons of it. And now that it's coming over to Marvel, there's going to be changes, but changes might be for the better. Or like, look, somebody was just talking about C, right? I thought the first season was terrible. A lot of people thought it was terrible, but a lot of people also thought they changed some things. They did some things differently. Season 2 is fantastic. So maybe that would happen.
You know, I don't think like they could turn Daredevil into Jobber Daredevil.
Yes.
I don't think they're going to do that. I think Daredevil's going to stay.
Sure hope not.
He's going to stay the character of Daredevil. It's just going to be funny. And that's what I think is different. People think they're going to change Daredevil into some goof. And I don't think they're going to do that. But I think we're going to see Daredevil in a comedic vein.
All right, what's next?
From Mr. Holdbrook. So, Rob, are you going to ask John for a raise to get that in-art Batman?
The what?
Okay, InArt is a new high-end. It's part of Queen Studios, and they're these high-end $1,000 action figures.
What's their scale?
They're 6th scale. They're the most expensive.
$1,000 at
most
6th scale?
Expensive 6th scale figures. They've already done the Heath Ledger Joker's coming out. Gandalf is coming out, and they're doing the Pattinson Batman. They're incredible.
But are they that much better than Hot Toys?
Well, here's the thing. None of them have come out yet. So,
Awesome.
I mean, that Heath Ledger Joker is incredible. At least it looks incredible. The Gandalf with the rooted hair, it looks incredible. but is it $1,000
Is it
incredible?
like 3 times better than the Hot Toys looks?
That's the real question.
right?
That's the real question. And I think when you see it, it comes down, it's going to be a real existential issue for a lot of collectors.
Because I was looking very closely at this Mandalorian 1/4 scale, where Mandalorian is like standing on a bunch of rubble, and I think the it wasn't IG-88. What was the one in Mandalorian? Something.
KS.
But standing on was standing on top of the IG-88, and he had
IG-11.
IG-11.
Yeah.
He had the child with him. This beautiful, gorgeous, huge 1/4 scale, kind of like this Daredevil, this
Right.
Deadpool. This is a 1/4 scale Deadpool, and it's just huge, right? And it was like $600. So like, how, like at a 6 scale for
know.
$1,000?
Well, to be fair, the Heath Ledger Joker comes with 2 figures, but you know it's depending. I mean, there's a spread. Gandalf, I think, is only $600.
Okay, so it's different one.
Yeah, it's different. I don't know how much the
Because
Batman
like
is.
the Hot Toy Heath Ledger Joker, I don't know how you get better than that one. Like, that's
I
just
know,
perfect.
and I have it. They're great. That's the thing. I mean, what is the price point? I don't know.
All right, what's next?
From Hut359. We've had Predator. We've had Prey. Next, we need Pack, a movie following a group of predators hunting together.
Do we need that?
The camaraderie. You can get your sitcom finally of the Predators.
The sitcom
Coming up on our
Predators.
door.
Oh man,
We are praying for you.
Oh my God.
I still want that. You've already sold me.
Yeah.
That at least is. We should start doing funny sketches. That could
Oh
be
my
one.
gosh, it'd be great.
I mean, we did kind of get that movie already with Alien versus Predator, because
That's
weren't there?
true.
Didn't we at one point see like a bunch of predators like trying to take it? I can't remember exactly, but
Well, at the end of Predator 2, don't they have a bunch of predators that show up and give them the...
they didn't hunt together. They just kind of came
Right,
up
yeah,
to
they
give
didn't.
a little ceremony.
like,
And-
Here you go.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
From Connor Dorian. Mark Pedowitz will remain president of the CW.
Oh.
Yeah, so I mentioned that a new ownership was coming in, but look, I haven't read a lot of it in detail. That's what we'll talk about it more in detail tomorrow. But it wouldn't be the first time that a company gets taken over, but its infrastructure stays relatively the same for stability's sake. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case at all. All right, what's next?
From Dwayne Fernandez. Hey guys, random question. Do you think the future of movies could be virtual reality movies? I mean, I already love VR stuff.
I really don't. And you know what's funny? I remember people asking that question when I was still at Collider like 6 years ago. Like when VR was like, everybody thought VR was going to be everything. And that like literally 6-7 years ago, people saying in 5 years, everybody's going to be watching movies in their VR sets. And yet here we are. I really don't think so. But I don't know. What do you think, Rob?
I think it's going to be more like gaming. You're going to end up being on a holodeck where you're the protagonist in the story and you're going to play the story out. But I think people are still going to want drama. I mean, we still have novels. We still have plays and we still have symphonies. I don't think movies are going to go away. People like that. But I do think that we are going to get something new. I've often said, John, that what silent movies were in the 20s, the 1920s, I think gaming is going to reach a point with virtual technology some in the late 2020s where things are going to change, where we're going to get, whether it's virtual worlds or goggles, but it's going to be 10 times more than it is now.
I remember my old boss was very, very heavily invested in VR. And I mean, hey, listen, I've had a couple of generations of VR devices, but I remember like 7 years ago, him saying to me, within 2 to 3 years, like 4 out of every 5 people is going to have a VR device. It's 2022. And I don't know if I know 2 people that have VR devices. Honestly, I don't know that I know one for sure, but I don't know if I know 2 people with
The
VR
technology isn't there. It's still cumbersome.
All right, what's next?
From Verde Go. Hey, John, Rob, Chris, Jonathan, and of course, Ray. You're awesome. That's all.
Oh, it's always nice when somebody wants to write in just to say something encouraging. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. All right, what's next?
From Cutter Hale. Going to see Maverick a 7th time tomorrow in
Wow.
IMAX and taking my grandma who still hasn't seen it.
Listen,
Aw,
Wasn't it
interesting
like
fact-
number 3 this weekend?
Yeah.
it went from number 6 to number 3.
Yes.
That it made like $7 million. It's not like
Still.
it made 40 million. But in its 13th week, its box office went up. It went
That's
up
wild.
1.6%. Now, granted, they added it to 15% more theaters
Sure.
because we are now in a movie release drought. There's very little big coming out over the next month and a half or two. So what they decided to do was they took Top Gun Maverick and they added it to like 400 more theaters. They added like 400 more theaters. So they added like 15%, 20% more theaters. But the box office went up 1.6%. So, I mean, this run of Maverick is absolutely crazy. It's absolutely incredible.
And they now you can get, if you go back and see it in IMAX, they have a new poster. They made a new IMAX poster.
I didn't know that.
They're giving away to audiences now for this weekend.
I would go to the theater just to get that poster.
It's cool.
All right, what's next?
From John Campea's Ingrown Toenail. What do you call Han Solo after he smokes some marijuana? Han so high.
Oh, God.
No drum hit for you on that.
Ray loved that one.
No bum
Oh,
bone.
it was simple. It was nice.
That's a Dank Nugs joke.
Yeah, that was very dank.
It'd be funny if I was smoking the Dank Nugs.
All right, what's next?
From Jedediah Elias. If Deadpool 3 is tame, I'm done with the MCU. I mean it. Treat these characters with the respect they deserve or people will stop watching. Making Daredevil tame like calling Batman Richie Rich.
Okay, but you're overlooking a major part of that. Okay, so let's say they made them tamer, which I mean, obviously, if you listen to the writers of Deadpool, they said they've gotten no notes from the studio. The studio's letting them do whatever they want. But let's say they did. Let's say they made them tame it down. Here's the problem with us as fans sometimes. We then, before watching it, we predetermine if we like it or not. So let's say they did tame it down, which obviously with Deadpool they're not, but let's say they did. What if it's the best Deadpool movie ever? Are we just going to say, no, just in principle, I'm going to say it sucks? Or are we going to be open-minded and say, hey, you know what? They made the best one yet. Again, they're not taming it down. The writers of Deadpool made it very clear they're not taming it. But even if they did, let's not predetermine. Let's see what the results are. Let's see if the results was something that's even better, just as good, maybe not quite as good, or maybe terrible. But to predetermine quality of something before we've seen it, I think is one of our biggest, and we're all guilty of it. I've been guilty of it too, but I think it's one of our biggest faults as a fandom. I don't know, Rob, what do you think?
I completely agree with you. And the thing is, you know, you've still got the same creative team essentially in place, and Ryan Reynolds doesn't want to make it's his baby. He doesn't want to make a bad Deadpool movie. I think he wants to keep it the same. And even if it is like, let's say they were mandated, they had to make a PG-13 movie.
Right. Which Kevin Feige said a long time ago they're not going to do.
They're not. But even let's just say that they did. That doesn't mean it won't be hilarious. Like, it could still be great. It's like the idea we always talk about, well, it's not going to be R-rated, so it's going to suck. But if the movie's good, if the story's good, and the jokes are funny, and Ryan Reynolds is good as a character, it could still work.
Right. Now, would I be excited to hear that they're going to mandate a PG-13 Deadpool? No, I wouldn't be excited by that at all. But
I wouldn't get to celebrate my favorite holiday.
Oh, God. Nope. Not going to follow that up. Not going to follow that up at all. All right, what's next?
What is it? My Comic Planet. Did you finish Sandman, John?
No, like I mentioned earlier in the show, I got up to episode 6. Absolutely fantastic episode. Been hesitating to move on to 7 through 10 just because I've heard a lot of people it's not quite as good, but I will finish it off soon. All right, what's next?
From Jamal Sanderson. I'm on my second interview for the Squid Game show.
Oh, wow.
The casting. Yes.
So, like, when is this
Jamal,
thing
I
supposed to
believe
happen?
Brian in the chat too is also on like a third interview. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat.
But you see, unless the contestants actually get murdered, I'm not watching this show because it won't actually. It's not Squid Game unless you have a chance of not walking out of there alive. That's right. It's got to be a total snuff film,
or I'm out.
Or it's don't tame down Squid Game.
You know,
don't tame it down.
They better add some comedy to this.
They better not make it funny.
If they make it funny and they don't respect these characters.
That's right.
What if Jamal gets in, he writes us back and he says, hey, I got in, and then we never hear from him again? I'm going to feel terrible for the rest of my life.
Then I will salute Netflix's creative integrity.
You would.
Jamal
All
for the
right,
duck.
what's next?
From Trevor. John, you son of a monkey. Mozzarella sticks and sour cream.
Oh my
Pretty
God.
damn good.
I
I'm
listen.
just gonna send these in now, just to agree with John.
The
He probably didn't even have
movement,
them.
the movement has started. You can't stop it now.
Why do you use your power for evil?
The genie is out of the lamp.
I want to see Instagram videos where people actually do this.
You should
I don't.
and show the joy
This is not
on
the
people's
mukbang I want.
faces as you try it. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's the best. All right, what's next?
From Alex Martinez. Good morning, Campea crew. Was just remembering how brutal was the action. Let's try that again. Was just remembering how brutal was the action in Winter Soldier. What if Daredevil has the same vibe?
I'd say Daredevil already kind of has the same vibe. I mean,
I would too.
that bridge fight scene is so good. I mean, not as good as Shang-Chi's bus fight scene, but that whole bridge fight scene and everything, there's a visceralness to it. Not quite as visceral as Daredevil, but I mean, I already think there are similarities. What do you think?
I mean, I do too, and I think I can see comedy. What if She-Hulk figures out or finds out Daredevil or that Matt Murdock is Daredevil and she starts making personal injury jokes? I mean, I could see that getting very funny very quickly. So you're already laughing. You see what I mean? It doesn't damage the integrity of the character.
Stop making me like it. I'm supposed to hate this.
All right, what's next?
From Brandon Nesmuddin. Did you guys see that The Simpsons is making an episode about how they always predict the future?
Listen, it's eerie how often something happens and then people pull out a frame. Simpsons talked
did it
about
first.
this in 2005. Like that has happened so freaking often. I'm not surprised at all that they're going to do an episode about it.
Me neither, and I will watch that.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
All right, what's next?
From James Ido, a half Japanese guy. Sending in a $20 chat.
Thank you,
so much.
James.
Hi, guys. You inspired me to make a Star Wars fan film called A Star Wars Movie, a comedy about 4 adults getting sucked into a Star Wars film on Disney+. Drops on YouTube August 27th. Troops left big shoes to fill.
Wow.
Whoa.
First, of course, our friend Kevin's Troops film was like one of the greatest. It's the greatest Star Wars fan film.
You know
of all
what?
time.
That's a great example of what they could do with Daredevil. Because Kevin Rubio's Troops is a comedy, but it also works canonically in the Star Wars universe.
Yes, it does, and that's what they could do with She-Hulk.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, with the character. Well, first of all, James, kudos to you. I always believe that fans should get involved in creating, because if number one, it gets you more involved with the object of your fandom. Number two, it's just a fun thing to do. Number three, it gives you something to contribute to the fan community of itself, whether one person sees it or 1,000 people see it. I just think that's great that you're doing that. So good for you for doing that. And again, if you guys haven't had a chance to see Kevin Rubio's Troops, it is the greatest Star Wars fan film, any fan film ever made in history, honestly. All right, what's next?
From El Leonardo, Ghosts of Tsushima. Did I say that right? Director Chad Stahelski. Thank you. Wants to make a Japanese language film with Japanese cast. Thoughts?
I don't know if a studio will let him do it in Japanese, but I could totally see them obviously having an all Japanese cast, depending on if they deviate from certain things or not.
Yeah.
But I can totally see them doing that.
I mean, it is a film that's would be set in Japan. I think it'd be tough as a director to direct something that's not in your language.
yeah, but I also think it's harder to. I mean, unfortunately, like I don't mind movies with subtitles at all. Unfortunately, there's a lot of the audience that don't like subtitles.
Right.
And so what you do is you do a Hunt for Red October. You maybe start the first minute or two in Japanese, and then the audience gets it. You transition it to being in English, but we understand now that they're speaking Japanese really, but it's being done. I could see them doing something like that, but unfortunately a studio is just going to look at the real hard numbers. That unfortunately, just a lot of people won't go see a movie with subtitles. That's unfortunate. How do we change that? How do you get people to be more open to subtitles in movies? Like, I just don't know what the answer to that is.
Hey, I don't either. I see that as really a problematic thing from a creative standpoint. How do you make a Japanese samurai movie that's based in Japan, that's so steeped in Japanese culture, and make it a Western production? I mean, have you ever seen the remake of Unforgiven they did? The samurai, it's in a Japanese film, but it's a remake of Unforgiven.
I don't think I have.
It's really good. I mean, but it was, done. It's a Japanese movie and it's about a samurai. It's really cool. But Ghost of Tsushima should be done. The thing is, it's going to cost, how do you spend $200 million or $150 million on that movie and not make it? I think that's a tough call.
Yeah, it's a tall order.
Tough
I
call,
think
man.
he's going to find that's going to be difficult to
get
the suits to sign off on for understandable reasons.
But how do you get people to watch subtitled movies? Watch RRR.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
From A. Marcellus, a character will act a certain way in their own comic, but will act another way when they guest star in others.
Yes.
For example, Deadpool made jokes in Spider-Man comics that he couldn't curse.
Yeah. However, comics are comics.
Yeah.
The screen is the screen. And one presents a little bit more of a challenge and people take it a little bit more to heart. So I agree with you in principle. I do. I just think it's going to be difficult for some fans to kind of embrace it, maybe. But who knows? Maybe, again, you know what? Like I said before, winning cures everything. If they bring Matt Murdock into She-Hulk and he's yuck, but the yuck makes people laugh themselves sick, everybody's going to be fine with it. Again, just like in Spider-Man No Way Home, he made the big joke in the movie, but because the big joke made everybody laugh, everybody was totally cool with it. So as long as it works, the question is, will it work? And so that's going to be the $1 million question. All right, what's next?
From Andrew Rice. What are Yin's thoughts on the Wolverine 2013 and 2017?
I don't know what we're talking about.
I just know that they're from
The movie-
Pennsylvania.
that's the second Wolverine movie. The Wolverine.
Oh, the
is-
one like with all the ninjas and
Yeah.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. It's a movie. It's kind of like Day Shift in the way that it had some real highs, but it also had a couple of real lows. Overall, I didn't mind the film. I liked it. I know a lot of people hated it. I wasn't really big on X-Men Origins Wolverine.
You.
Was not big on that one, but the other one I was okay with.
Yeah, it just didn't. I don't think it stuck the landing. The
Yeah.
whole
Well,
Silver
that's true too. Yeah.
Didn't. But I did like a lot of it.
Yeah.
Their whole approach with Silver Samurai and all
I
that,
wasn't thrilled with that. And I
No.
didn't like, was it Viper who's in it?
Yeah.
But the whole idea about like saving the one guy during the nuclear blast and creating that kind of story, I like that. I like that it got a little bit more to the gritty Wolverine. Honestly, the great thing you can say about it too, if it wasn't for that movie, I don't think we would have gotten Logan.
No, I agree.
No.
with you.
And that's one of the greatest comic book films
And
of all
Mangold
time.
directed both of them.
Yeah, he did.
And there
All
should
right.
have been less Jean Grey.
Yeah. What's next?
From Cutter Hale, I personally thought Day Shift was fun, not great.
Yeah, this is one of those movies that I really don't like. That I'm not surprised at all to hear that there are people who really do. Again, the action's fantastic. And if that was enough to carry it all for you, I could totally see why you would, number one, really enjoy it, and number two, would tell other people to watch it and watch yourself. Again, for me, it did not work because as great as the action was, it wasn't enough to make up for the shortcomings of the film, in my opinion. But it could be totally different for you, and that's awesome. All right, what's next?
From Duck Cookie. With D23 doing a public live stream for their game showcase, could any other presentations be shown to everyone online, or is this probably it?
That's it. They want to make D23 to be something you need to go to and attend. They are really big on the exclusive thing. Like if you come out here and you go through all that hassle of coming down here and being a part of, you're one of the true hardcore fans and blah, blah, then you get a special treat. And there's something about that. And listen, whether I am a D23 or not, I totally respect that and I enjoy that. So yeah, they're not going to broadcast that. No chance. No chance. All right, what's next?
From Tim Platt, better cusser, Roy Kent or Billy Butcher? Ooh,
Roy Kent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Billy Butcher's great. He's great. But there's a poetry to it when Roy Kent does it. There's like a beautiful poetry to it when he does
Because
it.
it's also usually paired with something sweet where he's like, you deserve to feel like your body's on fire. Yeah.
But especially when he's talking to his
You've been
niece.
struck by lightning.
Like when he's talking to his niece
I love her.
and he like also like dropped these insane profanity laden things, but it's sweet but shocking at the same time. Yeah, I love Billy Butcher. I like The Boys better than I like Ted Lasso, although I love both the shows, but Roy Kent for sure. All right, what's next?
He's here, he's there, he's everywhere. Tochi Victor, loved Cheeto in UFC Fight Night.
Man, I felt bad though. I mean, because I think he dropped the first two. I think he lost the first two rounds. I think he lost the first two rounds. I think Dominic Cruz, who's trying to mount kind of a comeback, one of the great all-time great, especially lighter weight fighters of all time. I think he won the first two rounds, but yeah, then he got dropped and then that head kick, man. I mean, good for him though. Good for him. All right, what's next?
Oh, golly. From Aspor Loki Runnerson, please let me know if I butchered that. Who'll be members of the Thunderbolts?
I mean, Walmart Captain America or America Agent.
Elena.
Probably Yelena, who I don't know who
Baron
else.
Zemo, maybe.
Baron Zemo, I would like that.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
From Al Renshaw, Chris equals Diesel. Not surprised she hates Rogue One. First of all, I'm Thomas the fucking Tank Engine.
Oh, I thought we were talking Vin Diesel. Okay, we're
And second,
Chris is definitely a Thomas.
I don't hate Rogue One.
Yeah,
hate
she
it.
doesn't love it as much as
I just
most
don't
people.
love
That's
it.
it. That's it.
But I am Thomas the Tank Engine.
All right, what's next?
From Billy Bays, most anticipated movie for the rest of the year.
I can't even remember what's coming out, so I don't know. I'd have to actually look, and I can't remember what's actually coming out this year versus 2023 versus 2024. I'm a terrible with dates guy. All right, what's next?
From Joker, Alan Ritchson as Superman, yes or no? That jawline.
That's not why you cast somebody in a major role, though. Listen, he's already been Aquaman. I say this with all due respect. While he is great in Reacher, what is asked of him from an acting perspective in Reacher is limited. So I say this not negatively, I mean it wholeheartedly. I don't know how good of an actor he is. I don't think him in Titans gives us any kind of an indication, good or
Right.
bad, whether or not he's a truly good actor. And I'm not saying he's not. I'm saying I don't know yet. So if they were to announce him as Superman tomorrow, I would be nervous about it just because I don't know if he's that good. I don't know. What do you think?
I agree with you. I mean, he has the physicality to play
Certainly.
Superman.
Yeah, absolutely. But you
But,
can
yeah,
find
like-
other big muscle guys.
Yeah, I don't know if he has that sort of twinkle in his eye or the winsome. It depends what kind of Superman as well. Because what kind of a Superman movie are you going to make? Is he going to be more a soulful Superman or more of a badass? I mean, it really depends which direction you're going to go, and that would define what kind of a Superman you need.
Because his Jack Reacher is a quieter
Yes.
Jack Reacher. All of his dialogue spoken kind of one way. And again, he played it perfectly. That's the way that show should have played it. And it was great. I really enjoyed him in it. But
Yeah.
again, I'm just left with, I don't know. Because my number one priority, if you recast Superman or for any role, my number one priority is get a really good actor. That's my number one priority. And I just don't know if he is or not. I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying I don't know. Good question, though. All right, what's next?
From DG Productions, do you think Bruce Timm could be the Kevin Feige Zaslav is looking for DC movies?
Absolutely not. It's got absolutely zero experience with making live action stuff and whatever. And that's really the primary thing. So no, zero chance of that, unfortunately. Now, if he's looking for a Kevin Feige for an animated DC kind of branch,
Kind of already.
yeah, I mean, then that's
Yeah.
an obvious
Yeah.
thing. But why would you get somebody with zero real experience making live action type of material to be the head of your live action type of material thing? To me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. All right, what's next?
From James Argenta, does Filoni kill Ahsoka in Ahsoka? Doubtful.
I don't think that Elon Musk offering Dave Filoni $10 billion in pure cold hard cash would make Dave Filoni kill Ahsoka. I think Dave Filoni would disown his own parents to keep us. He's got a spot for Ahsoka. There's no way he's killing Ahsoka. If he did, mad respect. Mad respect if he did, because I know how much he loves that character. That's his favorite creation is Ahsoka. And I already think, you've heard me gush about him because of Mandalorian, that he clearly has the right attitude for being a great director and all that kind of stuff. But if he were to take his favorite creation and be willing to kill that character in the name of good storytelling, like if he thought he could have an amazing story, if he sacrificed that character, mad balls respect if he was be willing to do that. But I don't think so. I don't think he's going to do that. All right, what's next?
Now we're just ending with some support, it looks like. The Collector of Worlds with a $20 super
Thank
chat.
you, Collector
Thank
of
you.
Worlds, just to be supportive. Thank you, man.
From A. Chaps and from Irene Jobson. Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
so much, guys.
I got a couple of here, if I can.
Just quickly, yeah.
Yeah, quickly. Let's see.
That's not quickly.
Tumbling Tornado says, I like Day Shift until they reveal vampires.
Whoa.
Wait, no, he doesn't.
Oh, okay.
Vampires can't ... Must be a tornado brewing in there.
Yeah, well, I can't address that, obviously.
Okay.
All right, what's next?
Afreem writes, okay, I don't know what cave everyone grew up in, but you're supposed to mix marinara and ranch to make the most delicious mozzarella dipping
Ew.
sauce.
Well, see, that's
No.
again, that's part of old world thinking. The new world has discovered sour cream is the dip for mozzarella sticks. I'm telling you. All right. What's that?
Okay, John W. I can't. Wildbacher gifted 5 John Campea
Oh,
membership.
thank you, man. That's awesome of you.
And then the last one, Joel Rolston writes, "I want an Adam West type of Daredevil. Come at me, people."
You know what? In a world where multiverse movies and things like that happen all the time, why not? Again, it's winning cures everything. If you make that and make it really well and funny and entertaining, like you do a Powerless. Remember the NBC show Powerless? You do a Powerless version of Daredevil, but it's a totally different universe, and it's not the Matt Murdock we know. Why not? Like, it could actually work, or it could be exactly what it sounds like and be completely awful. But you never know. You never know.
You never know.
All right, guys. What we do know is that's it for all of our time today on this episode of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making this show part of your day. Reminder, guys, that at 3 p.m. this afternoon, Los Angeles time, that's a couple of hours from now, we will be doing open mic. So, you know, a lot of people, because the time zone, stuff like that, they can never watch the John Campea Show live. We will be live again at 3 o'clock, taking your guys' open questions about, whatever it is you want to talk about. So make sure you come on back and join us for that. I want to thank everybody in the room here with me, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett, the wonderful Chris Carr, the hobbling Ray Ora back there, and of course, running the show today, producer Jonathan Voico. That's it for us today, guys. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.